My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Alrighty, capturing video. By the way, it is September 11, 2024. It's 1:55 a.m. Moments ago, capturing video of terrorism and psychological torture by the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department. This is the state utilizing helicopters, but also be aware, as I'm documenting group stalking by literally the fire departments are also engaged in terrorism utilizing helicopters, which is a matter of documentation as well. It's built into the P.O.C, so it's a matter of any state agency utilizing helicopters to merely engage in the pattern of conduct. So helicopter activity is heard in the video that I just captured at 1:40 a.m. The entity is engaged in surveillance, group stalking all around. This is documentation of the people of the state who are subject to federal prison, and without a doubt, not without a doubt, there is no question you are by default going to federal prison with regard to systematic facilitation. That is, every employee of Holiday Inn Express and Suites is going to federal prison. And I just documented helicopter activities, group stalking by helicopter, which by virtue of the audible activity of helicopter, that's the pattern of conduct. This is triggering to the ordinary target individual where the entity is pursuing them, relentlessly stalking them, as I've documented going to the bank, as I've documented being on the freeway, on the roads and the highways, going to the grocery store, as I'm documenting living and working, as I'm documenting going from city to city. The entity is stalking in helicopters and doing so while keeping a fake sun, and the people of the state who are exhibiting demon possession themselves, stalking with audible activity, molesting your body with engineered light. All of this is of the supernatural, and you're going to federal prison for group stalking with the state that's utilizing helicopters. And demons such as Shannon Dykes are going to be directly addressed under federal prosecution, under federal law, and removed from the positions that they currently hold. They remain a threat to the public while I'm subject to this in San Bernardino County and Hesperia. It is currently, again, 1:57 a.m. This is documentation of the people of the state who are group stalking with the state at the venue where the entity is sounding helicopter activity inside of my room, which in the specific environment, which is also captured in that video, is the method of audible activity employed. License 9HLP 406. On surveillance cameras parked under the structure of the apartment complex. Everything that you hear outside is the entity still monitoring, still engaging in state surveillance while I'm documenting, and that's also attributed to the people of the state who are going to federal prison. At no point did the entity that's going to be punished ever cease to engage in the P.O.C. That's audible activity while I have three shadows in front of me. And across the street, a demon is in a large truck. I'm going to go get their license plate. It says Ant Space. They're engaging in surveillance, stalking in the path with light activity, while the entity is stalking in helicopter, and the entity, as you can hear, is amplifying audible activity. And I have three shadows, which has nothing to do with the street lamps. And again, you're paying attention, I've got shadows on the ground under the street lamps, but yet in my hotel room on the third floor, the pattern of the windows is appearing on a third floor upright. That's entirely demonic, and it's impossible light activity. This is TESSIL, T-E-S-S-I-L. This is P.O.C. Alrighty, capturing some footage showing more, elaborating on the pattern of conduct that San Bernardino Sheriff is engaging in, while you can hear helicopter activity on my in my video that I captured at 1:40. Hearing helicopter activity, that's well built into the pattern of conduct. You're looking at the impossible light activity. You've already seen the fake sun. So I'm reading license plates of the people of the state who are engaged in federal stalking. You're not innocent in the specific environment, nor are you reasonably contending you don't have any constitutional protection. You're actually not The entity already knows that you're demon possessed, and it's not even a basis of protecting your rights or having a defense by trying to claim you're not a demon, because that's not going to save you from prosecution. You're engaging in elements of monitoring, and it's also that which you are doing knowingly. So the world knows that you're demons, and they also know that you're engaged in criminal activity, which you're going to be prosecuted for. All right. So I'm documenting right now. I'm pivoting back toward the feds right now. I'm documenting now the people of the state engaging in what is intolerable, group stalking with the state that utilizes helicopters. This is what the entity does to engage in bullying you, to harass and terrorize you, to psychologically torture you, while the entity is threatening your life literally as though they're going to drop bombs on you, as though they're going to come in and raid you. These are the reasonable fears that the entity is faced with on a daily basis when they're stalking you, chasing you down in helicopters, and you're surrounded in a demonic environment with a bunch of highly passive-aggressive psychopaths who are focused on you and don't want anyone else in the world to know that they're focused on you while they employ demonic methods of stalking you. All right, it's currently 2:04 a.m. License 6MBP905. Every license plate I read represents the people. And remember, CAL FIRE is also here, group stalking with the state in helicopters. And the entity is doing so while I'm inside of my private space in the specific environment. I'm documenting sex offenders who are subject to federal prison for group stalking with the state, systematically engaged in criminal summoning, as I continue to document as well. But I just documented stalking by helicopter. You hear helicopter activity? That's an element of monitoring. And the entity is fully engaged in what is very specific. There is nothing vague or ambiguous or separate by engaging in helicopter activity in the engineered environment. It is literally the formula of group stalking. Only fools provide evidence against their criminal co-conspirators, but these are the idiots stalking under a fake sun. License 83260V2. License 9FGE912. 59687Z1 9LPN 434 77020 SAM2 3703780 DH75 Frank 38. That's paper on a gray Honda 9NLX860. And I captured video of the demon that is in the Tesla white truck. That's an African American male. Again, that video is capturing. I have multiple shadows spread out on the dirt in the desert across the street. That's absolutely impossible light activity, and I'm actually in the dark. So this demon has their headlights on. That has nothing to do with my shadow that's appearing in front of me. It's not even in front in conformity to the direction that the demon's truck lights are being aimed. Okay, but again, headlights do not create multiple shadows that are lined up like cards in front of you, like spread out like cards. This is entirely satanic. You are able to deduce it from the environment around you, including upright shadows, multiple shadows, and large shadows. Inexplicable light activity, which you are now paying attention to, take a look at it again, and you will recognize that it's actually not normal at all. It's not naturally occurring. It's demonic, and the demonic has been in your face the whole time. I'm pointing it out to you because the demonic is relevant to criminal conduct that the state is engaging in. And because the state is employing demonic methods, it's an enhancement to the ways in which the state will be prosecuted. 22861U2, 35834V3, 03A, 3HW, Arizona. 93108X2, 7TGC137, 62996F2. This is Illinois, FP210207. This is SFS PAC, Sam Frank Sam PAC. Food Safety, Sanitation, and Safety System. These demons are group stalking. The license plate is FSS23. It's a white van. Kid Clean, Food Safety Systems, they're here group stalking, and that commercial actor is a group stalker as well. License 90227A4. California exempt license plate 1652925. License 9GAU950. 8RQP424. 25472U3. 1589905. That's California exempt. 09307G1. And I want to be clear, Jeremy Dean is the a terrorist leader, masquerade in a demon-possessed one that's currently literally in a disguised position, masquerading as a captain over a terrorist organization that's engaged in Satan's satanic surveillance system, masquerading as a law enforcement agency. That's group stalking, engaging in a pattern of conduct that is demonic at its core. You're not coincidentally engaging in that. This is literally what Satan is engaging in and has his minions strategically in place in the state of California, in government positions, in positions of leadership where this system is underway. And as I'm documenting these terrorist organizations, you're going to be removed from those positions, and you are also facing a prosecution. I just want to be very clear with that. License 9KYC632, you are going to be held accountable for the criminal activity that's occurring on your watch with regard to the targeting of an American citizen, targeting in every aspect of their life, especially when you are also subject to documentation and that targeting is continuing. That's very specific. So not only will those government actors be prosecuted, meaning you will produce whatever demons is group stalking at that hour where it's documented in a helicopter, but you will also be facing a prosecution for being a terrorist leader, just like Osama bin Laden. Okay? License 8RQP424 25472U3. License 1275938. That is CAL FIRE. This is vehicle number VN-TOM3. Yeah, Ventura. I'm going to take pictures of these. This is CAL FIRE, and this is, again, pointing the finger at the demon. This is a terrorist leader, and it's notable. You need to understand that these are the demon-possessed. They're holding positions of leadership in California. License 1612070. That is CAL FIRE, Ventura. Ventura Fire Crew. Group stalking, demons pacing around, using the hotel doors just like every other demon. High school graduate, a dropout, college graduate, stay-at-home mom, college graduate, business administration, whatever their background is, whatever their race is, it doesn't matter. The educated and the uneducated, the successful and the unsuccessful, okay, they are engaging in group stalking, the demonic activity, all the same. And in the hotel, they're doing the exact same thing over and over and over again. They're amplifying audible activity, the methods of sirens, the methods of, tonight I'm documenting helicopter activity, the methods of car alarms, the amplification of what are demons who are closing their hotel doors, and they're maintaining an ongoing course. Every time I make a move, somebody's closing their hotel door, walking in and out. While there's earthquakes happening inside of my hotel room, there are demons that are not coincidentally, they're group stalking while that sensational activity is created, and they're just walking down the hallway. They're monitoring, and that's a demon that's doing that. It's not different because these demons are wearing fire department, representing fire departments. It's exposing what it is that I've already stated, I've already contended. There's no exception. There is absolutely no exception whatsoever. And it's also speaking to the pathetic and despicable and very depraved and sexually perverted pattern of conduct that every single fire department, including CAL FIRE, there is no exception in the state of California. This is satanic. It is not possible that I'm driving to the state of Nevada and the sun remains directly over the roof of my car, directly out of the driver's side of my vehicle for the entire route to and from Nevada. But yet it's rising and setting, remaining at one address while I don't go anywhere in Hesperia. That's not the sun. And that's how you know that CAL FIRE is here specifically engaging in the pattern of conduct. Okay, license 69369D3. That's CAL FIRE. License 1552288. That's CAL FIRE. Vehicle S/T 9346G. Let me get pictures of this. All right, showing you the impulsible light activity, meaning the directed light, the engineered light. There are many synonyms that I have utilized referencing the specific environment. That is light, that which is unnatural, light that is scientifically impossible to naturally occur, as you are adjusting your eyes to recognize that you are looking straight in the face of the demonic. You're looking right at it. It's right in your face, okay? The street lamp that's standing outside is not the explanation of the shadows that surround your person. All right, the demonic is in plain view, and they were wearing fire uniforms, marching like demons that were pacing in plain sight right in front of your face. That's what you saw Satan's minions doing. They were group stalking, and it was a show of hostility against one, that is myself, who was speaking the truth about what they are and what they're doing. Okay, and so the California CAL FIRE, this is an agency that's engaging in communicating, and it's to their own I'm going to prosecute them, and I'm going to expose them and prosecute them as the sex offenders that it is. CAL FIRE is a sex offender engaging in state surveillance and not a legitimate agency that's engaging in anything lawful or protected under the Constitution. The fact that you have hoses and you use water to put out fires is legally irrelevant with regard to what you are actually engaged in, which is domestic terrorism in the specific environment under the fake sun. Engaging in the same exact demonic behaviors. You're marching in the engineered light, your presence in that environment, your demonic pacing, all of that, they exhibited their demon possession. They're group stalkers. They can claim whatever. They can say that the Bakers was on fire. They can say whatever they want. In other words, I'm going to prosecute, and it's pointing the fingers at what the world needs to recognize. Joe Tyler is a demon-possessed corrupt leader. His position is long expired, and his exposure for this criminal conduct that's happening on his watch is not ignorantly. So this is another demon that Satan has in place, and this is a threat to the public while he remains in that position. License 19176S3. That's the people of the state. Joe Tyler is currently the Director Fire Chief over CAL FIRE, located in Fresno. CAL FIRE has contracts with many counties in the state of California, and they're engaging in criminal activity. They're domestic terrorists in concert with the demons who are the people of the state. In other words, they engage in the same exact pattern of conduct. These demons wear uniforms, working for fire departments, and the rest of the people of the state are unofficial and unintelligent, unsophisticated, under no circumstances elite, and disqualified from any Secret Service agency. They are nothing whatsoever, anything close to that. Okay, I'm running circles around them, documenting them, showing the fact that they're demons and that they're all stalkers and mentally ill psychopaths and violent sex offenders. And that's not a bragging point. That's the reality of how absurd that a government would engage in this level of violence against a person. And you're using not that there's any person that will be qualified to group stalk you, but I want to be clear. You're talking about the homeless bum that's incarcerated every other week for raping women, raping boys, whatever they're raping, and they're group stalking me with these demons wearing fire police uniforms, with these demons that want to be recognized as police uniforms. Are you kidding me? Yes, you're all going to federal prison. They are the same animals. You need to get out of your mind what you've been conditioned to think, that there's some difference among people based on how much money they make, what race they are, what language they speak, whatever background, whatever family they come from, whatever traditions that they practice. The only thing that separates us as human beings, there are those that are in darkness, and these are the demon-possessed group stalkers, those that do not know the Lord Jesus Christ. They are in darkness. That's why they're engaging in this conduct. It's the fruits of what's inside of them. They're wicked. And there are those that are in light, that walk in light. That's the only thing that separates us. Everything else is an illusion. It's a means to distract you. 8UUB925, NGDU30, Florida. That's what's so disgusting about this. License 9GFR959, license 1611163. That's CAL FIRE. And I'm gonna get some more pictures of these vehicles. Let me get this license plate right here. So while you saw CAL FIRE group stalking on video at 4 o'clock in the morning, you saw that demon go to the back of the dumpster and wants to appear to you as though I'm focused on relieving myself. I got to go take a whiz, like this would be somebody that's reasonably construed as someone that's disinterested, someone that's ignorant about the fact that they're on video, right? This is everything that the entity wants to communicate while they engaged in that, assuming that no one's taping them. I want to be clear, Satan knows exactly everything that's being stated, and you know that because of the fact that their shadows are surrounding them. They're monitoring someone. And it's not just the fact because I'm standing in direct light and my shadows are surrounding me. But I want to be clear. If I was a demon, if I was a group stalker, I would not be telling all of their secrets. That's not how this works. Second of all, the entity you're talking about, a house divided, does not stand. This is not how it works. Satan's not telling his own secrets. And secondly, I want to be clear. The demon possessed are engaging in the demonic behavioral patterns in the demonic environment. That's how you know them. Okay, the entity is stalking with activity. The entity is engaged in amplified audible activity. You can pay attention to the demons when you know their code of conduct. Okay, that's the difference between a demon that's group stalking me and me being in that position targeted by them. And also you're seeing me have a body of documentation of the entity stalking me for years in helicopters as well. I can't make that up also. And it's also the fact that the entity engaged in multiple acts of trying to kidnap me, trying to create a criminal record, trying to criminally defame me when there is no such mental illness. I've never been a criminal. I have not committed anything. They've always engaged in illegal arrests while they were hostile because I'm documenting them. There's all of that relevant evidence as well. But with regard to the supernatural, with regard to the spiritual aspect, what you should know regarding the children of the devil, okay, and the children of God, those who know the Lord Jesus Christ, those who are filled with his Holy Spirit. If I was a demon-possessed person in the demonic environment, then I would be engaging in the same conduct. I'm stalking with activity. That is, I'm arriving out of the blue to maintain some sort of presence around the person that's being targeted, even if I'm pushing a stroller, even if I'm holding a microphone and singing karaoke because I want to look like I'm focused on something else. I'm practicing my cheerleading drum squad routine, whatever it is that I'm doing, but I'm there. I'm always there in the path, whatever that target individual is engaging in at the moment, anything on the cell phone, I'm always there. That's what demons are doing. They're always following with audible activity. They're always following with some method of light activity. That's what you're seeing on video over and over and over again. Over and over again. Okay? That's the pattern of conduct. They are stalking with light. They are stalking in light, and it's also not even normal light. It's not even a normal environment. It's a circus environment. Satan surrounds. Satan does not want you to know that. If I was a minion, if I served Satan, I surely would not be telling his secrets. Because guess what? A lot of demons are going to be prosecuted. I don't serve Satan. Okay, I'm on a mission letting you know about what Satan is doing. And I will be totally unapologetic in speaking the truth about what Satan is doing and how you can recognize it, because it's for your own safety. They're out here taking American citizens' lives and they're calling it police work. That's what these demons are doing, and it's murder. It's murder upon federal group stalking and monitoring. I can't see this one license plate. So that's fine. License plate. 1 second. I'm going to take some pictures, and it's currently 2:19 a.m. Alrighty, again, CAL FIRE license plates. California Conservation Corps is what these vehicles say. Toro Fire Crew, TR01, license plate 1612071, and TR02, the next vehicle, license 1612073. License 7T EZ899. Let me see if this is it. Yeah, 7T EZ899. That's the correct license plate. They've been here essentially the entire time that I've been here. They've been engaged in criminal surveillance. And they're going to federal prison. License DK15N94. Again, that's the same paper license plate of the Lexus, the SUV Lexus. They're going to federal prison. And they were also engaged in group stalking with the state that was amplifying helicopter activity this morning. 51548R3. This is a Winco license, YAJD660. This is CAL FIRE, license 1684527. Third party, 9KWT302. 94763 Charlie 3. That is the demon you saw on video. While the sky was lit up in red, that was impossible light activity. Literally Satan just using a crayon, if you would, because that's how impossible the environment that surrounds you is. You just never question it. You even compliment it. Oh my goodness, this is beautiful. And you need to understand the high level deception of Satan. That's not the natural environment. It's entirely demonic. Okay, the demonic does not mean that it's going to be hideous. The demonic sometimes is quite appealing. It's quite aesthetically pleasing. It's quite beautiful on the surface. And it's poisonous, actually. All right. The sky was red when I captured this demon with the environmental safety solutions using the vehicle as a means of light activity and crossing path. He was group stalking, engaging in surveillance with the door open on video when I was inside of my hotel room. License 94763C3. That is, again, environmental solutions, environmental safety solutions, some sort of ambulatory services. They're group stalkers. I'm gonna capture video. All right, license 1662939, that is CAL FIRE. License 9LCV283, license 98984Y1. License, these are third parties, MHIMP 8EZN514. License Go Henry 034, that's a third party handicap license plate. 7XKC 893, that's a third party. EBA 07X, that's a third party, and that's Nevada, I believe. 6LMF031, 7YOU461, 45344M3, third party, 95135U3, third party. And you have a third party engaged in surveillance on surveillance cameras on the bench outside of the entrance doors. This is the same Caucasian male with the hat on. I captured him engaging in group stalking with CAL FIRE as well. And he's group stalking with CAL FIRE right now because they're present at the venue. But nonetheless, this is a method of surveillance just by sitting outside, having a smoke, whatever the demon is doing. It's nothing but a prop. That's Satan. That's maintaining presence in some method or another in close proximity. I was about to read my own license plate. 8WKC 506. The same Lancer. That's a disabled vehicle, license 4XOA 554. A method of light activity is being maintained directly in front of my room. It's flashing of light. This is facilitation. Flashing of light. Oh, yeah, on the property. I'm going to document this. This is light activity that Holiday Inn's going to be prosecuted for. It's a method of light activity. It's not a malfunction. It's as facilitating as the blinking light inside of the garage at Fairfield by Marriott. Recall the documentation where you see a puddle of light that's upright in the depths of that parking garage. And then you also saw the light that was blinking inside of the parking garage. That's called light activity. There's no failure of anything with regard to the specific environment. And you are also opening your mind to that. Everything is deliberately maintained, even supposed to maintain an appearance of being in disrepair or being in need of something, lacking something, and that's the reason, or some sort of neglect, and that's why it has its facilitation. The blinking light is what you're seeing demons that are using their hazard lights. It's called flashing of light. It's very demonic. And they're maintaining it right outside of my window. And let me be clear, this is, again, the impunity of Holiday Inn and the impunity of all the employees who are going to federal prison working for Holiday Inn. They have in every regard demonstrated their ongoing desire to go to federal prison for years, because that's exactly how the federal government is going to analyze and receive their criminal conduct, which has been specifically documented. It is currently 2:23 a.m. All right, continuing documentation, capturing video of light activity that is maintained in front of my window, my hotel window. That's criminal facilitation. It could be placed anywhere. but it's relevant. And it's not a coincidence, not an accident either, that it's placed right by my window. This is also where the fake sun is in alignment to wherever it is, whatever window that I'm standing at during the day. And it's also setting in alignment to my window all day long. You're looking at how the entity is stalking in the path with methods of light activity. License 44493U3, license 9KYL367. These are the patterns that you'll recognize as you look at the body of evidence, and I point out the same thing over and over and over again. I'm pointing out the same thing while the entity does the same thing over and over again, doing the same thing in a different manner, if you will. There's only so many ways that you can do the same thing over and over again, and you will recognize those patterns. License 3345195, that is Indiana. That's a third party. These are the people of the state that were group stalking while the entity was engaging in terrorism and psychological torture, which you can hear the helicopter activity in the video. That combined with the impossible light activity that fills your hotel room, this is what is inflicting terror to the ordinary target individual who suffers in silence, who is repeatedly harassed, falsely accused, and the entity is targeting them, corrupt police departments bothering them, accusing them, even kidnapping them, making up information, and then, they might even let you go. It's just for the fact of psychologically tormenting you and also to harass you. And they're also demons that they want to touch you. They want to be in your presence. They want to in any way seek to torment you and whatever. That's also what demons are doing. They're obsessed with you, but they're engaged in criminal conduct, and they're going to be held accountable for that. Again, license 7YCE440. That's the demon that crossed path while I was capturing the light activity in the parking lot. But you're understanding the environment, how it's relevant to psychological torture, and the stalking by the state. The demon that's stalking with the light activity facing a brick wall, this is a very highly mentally deranged person stalking another with the light activity. That's license 9KRG780, P.O.C. All right, you will see the images of a demon group stalking with a method of light activity using the vehicle. They're facing the brick wall. My shadow is behind me and in front of me. And you're also looking at how my shadows are vacillating as I move around in the parking lot. So it goes from having 4 shadows to 2 shadows to 3 shadows to having really dark shadows to having light shadows. As I was capturing the demons who are Cal Fire, who were pacing in the parking lot, group stalking me. You can pay attention. This is what I captured, snippets of the impossible light activity when you're witnessing literally group stalking. Their shadows would jump from being in front of them to being behind them. That's impossible light activity where demons are group stalking you. License plate, stalking in the path, doing just like 9KRG in front of the entrance with a method of light activity. These are demons, and they're doing this under the fake sun during the day. I'm going to capture. All right, capturing what is now 4 shadows, 2 in front, 2 behind, while a demon is stalking in the path 8UAA260, and in the background, stalking with the demon across the street that uses a large truck as a method of light activity. And the entity is committed. They know that they're being documented, and they commit to it. This is a family of Caucasians group stalking in the environment, stalking with light while my shadow is vacillating all over the parking lot. I'm going to go ahead and capture. All right, you're looking at the black truck that was parked across the street, and they were maintaining presence, waiting for me to walk back around, and 8UAA260 is group stalking at the entrance with light activity. This is an elderly Caucasian woman filled with other occupants in the car. License ZPO5743. That's the license plate on the commercial actor who's group stalking with this elderly Caucasian woman, this demon-possessed minion. Couldn't be younger than 70, group stalking a black woman. Okay, P.O.C. Just want to let you know, while they're out here parroting things such as white people thinking that they're superior, that people that you're believing that there's some sort of notion about superiority amongst races, that's a bunch of baloney, which you should already know. But you should already know white people are stalking white people. That's what this is evidence of. Just want to point that out to you. It is currently 2:33 a.m. P.O.C. Erica Lorraine Spencer here. The following is an audio version of video evidence that is captured for purposes of mass distribution, which is why I am capturing it and sharing it on the podcast for evidentiary purposes, and also to reveal the wealth of documentation that extends beyond what it is that I document on podcasts. Much of the video and images will be published onto the YouTube channel, the P.O.C., and it is also shared on the Google Drive Again, this is for purposes of revealing what I remain subject to, which is federal group stalking and monitoring. It is a demonic system of state surveillance that the government is practicing in concert with the people of the state. And it should be known and well understood that for the government to engage in federal group stalking and monitoring, this is a crime that is committed with a criminal purpose to threaten the life of an American citizen. This is to conspire to murder and or permanently kidnap an American citizen while engaging in a perpetual sex offense in concert with the people of the state. All right, it is currently 2:52 p.m. on Wednesday, September 11th, 2024, and this is capturing the demonic, which, as I've stated, is occurring directly in front of your face, okay? And so what I'm capturing this video for is for the prosecution of, first of all, the demon-possessed, the corrupt agency that includes CAL FIRE. They are group stalking in the specific environment, maintaining presence in the positions that the entity is typically maintaining immediately around. And this is the same positioning that an entity is maintaining, for example, in an apartment building. It's an analogous structure. The apartment building above you or beneath you, to the sides of you. This is the immediate surrounding. This is what CAL FIRE is engaging in. And they're on the third floor group stalking. These are demons, and they're just representing the fire department. This is a state agency engaged in group stalking with the people. The identical condition, the identical behavioral patterns, which is demonic, and the identical criminal system. CAL FIRE is distinct with regard to the states acting directly. CAL FIRE is fully engaged in the pattern of conduct with the people of the state. That represents Holiday Inn, who's going to be civilly prosecuted in addition to going to federal prison. Also for criminal facilitation with the demons that are filling the parking lot, the adjacent properties, all of whom are engaging in federal stalking with that entity. So this is what I'm capturing. That's why I am capturing this light source. And this is a demon that's group stalking. License 917 ULV, that's Nevada. That's a demon. And while I'm showing you the picture of the hotel rooms, this demon is sitting right here in the parking lot in position, just sitting there, surveillance, slowly reversing his light activity crossing path, going into a parking spot. This is a demon that's engaging stalking with the state, that's amplifying noise. The sound of the toilet is as though it's heard through the walls. That's audible activity while a demon is stalking in the path. CAL FIRE is on the opposite side of my wall, group stalking with them. This is the entity engaging in conduct with the state, and they're going to federal prison. So just want to point that out. 917 ULV, this is what the whole population is doing. The reason why I'm capturing this video is because I want you to be aware of what is the scientific impossibility. First of all, as you isolate the crime scene, recognizing what is criminal surveillance in the United States by the government itself, which is demonic. Okay, so you're recognizing this based on the time. It's 2:54 p.m. And the entity has the light source, as I've already documented, in the same exact position at 8 o'clock in the morning, when I'm in the position where that demon is in the parking lot at 8 o'clock, and the fake sun is in alignment with my face, directly over this, in the same position over the edge of the building while I'm in that physical position. The entity that's engaging, keeping the fake sun rising in alignment with my face, keeping it over the top of my head during the middle of the day, throughout the duration of the day, and then setting in alignment to my face, which is where I'm capturing the fake sun setting in alignment to me at the Motel 6. This is where the entity is keeping the evidence of what is a scientific impossibility, the stagnated stationary presence of a light source, which is not the natural environment, it's not the sun. This is giving context regarding the demonic behaviors of the people, using the vehicles, using their persons, moving around in engineered light. That is not sunlight under a light source that cannot possibly be the sun. And this is now occurring in what is Hesperia. This is juxtaposing with what is, again, the disappearance of the impossible light activity. It's never naturally occurring. All right, it's the demonic, and it is as demonic as what I'm documenting, that CAL FIRE and the demons that are the employees at this venue are engaging in, and they're maintaining an ongoing chorus, booming heard through the ceiling, through the walls, stomping heard through the walls as though someone is walking, but again, walking through the walls. It's amplified in volume, creating earthquakes, the sound traveling in the room as though someone is knocking in this far corner. Let me show the camera. Knocking in this far corner of the wall, and then knocking in this corner of the wall over here. This is what the head demon over housekeeping was doing at 7 in the morning, while you saw engineered light appearing underneath the door in the hallway. The same room where CAL FIRE, a demon-possessed state actor, is group stalking right now, where I'm at the same venue. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1 to 7 hours from capturing the sunrise at the same address. The light source is still here, and the impossible light activity just continues to progress onto the inside of the room. This is what I'm showing you is the pattern in the hallway, where the entity is maintaining a light source over the area facing the 7-Eleven. This is what an entity is doing with regard to, let me show you this, because I'm going to go into what Tyreek Hill, this is a Miami, a football forgive me, I'm not a fan of football, but I believe he is Miami Dolphins, and he was subject to from my legal assessment, based on the facts as they, excuse me, based on the information that has been shared in the media, it is an overreach, an overuse of force, and just based on the facts as they appear. But there's greater context that's not being discussed, and it is the specific environment that surrounds Tyreek Hill and his teammate, where they're subject to an unlawful seizure of their person based on the absence of any actual lawful authority, because the pattern of conduct is underway. And this is the aspect of the criminal system that the government's engaging in that is not being discussed. And also the condition of those officers who are engaging in a pattern of conduct while they're exercising fictitious authority that they don't actually have. It's not a coincidence that the light source that is remaining directly over my hotel room, we are 3 hours ahead of Florida. So this is speaking, the fact that you're looking at this and there's only one sun, it is complete with what is engineer light, the evidence of what is the close presence of the sun. And this is supposed to be sunlight. You're breaking this apart. Sunlight's not going to appear on the inside as you're looking at the pattern of conduct. The entity is keeping the light source over the same address. 8 o'clock in the morning, it's in the same physical position that it is right now at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, when the entity is engaging in an ongoing progression of the fake sun, going to a vantage point to where it's setting in alignment to my face, remaining over the top of my head during the for the duration of the day. And that's how you're seeing it in the same position 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 6 hours from 8 o'clock in the morning. Big picture also, 7 o'clock in the morning, I'm at the entrance doors of the same address, and this is the fake sun at the same address. Under all circumstances, it's P.O.C. Sunlight, that is the product of the sun, that is not stationary, remaining over one place at one time, which the evidence that Tyreek Hill is subject to the pattern of conduct, by the way, is clearly showing, because he's under a light source in Miami, Florida, and the evidence of what the entity is doing with the light source here in California at the same time, which again, based on the 3-hour difference, and also I used a time analysis with regard to even the same time, because the fake sun, as you see, it doesn't go anywhere here. It stays right over me. This is what the evidence of the entity's pattern of conduct. These are demons. This is very disturbing. You're looking at a bunch of demons that are pacing all around in opposite directions. They're group stalking. And they're moving all around in the parking lot. They're doing so while they're monitoring, not just the ones in vehicles, but these are demons that are actually pacing. They're moving around in engineer light. And this is a muted form of the hostility of demons that are group stalking. And you are able to deduce all of that because of the fake sun. And this is activity creation. The entity is doing so when the blinds are closed and I'm inside of my room and for example, I'm taking screenshots and the entity is anticipating what I'm capturing. So you'll have the entity engaging in the housekeeping, using the vacuum for the 3rd time today for purposes of audible activity creation. And that's exactly what I noted while they're concentrating the vacuum, which is audible activity, with regard to what is occurring in the specific environment. There's also a fake sun that's remaining over my hotel room while they're vacuuming for the 3rd time in the same hallway in this relevant position to my room. Maintaining elements of monitoring is what that is, and that's what demons are doing while they're engaged in federal stalking. And then when they're aware of the fact that I'm noting this, they are vacillating the activity creation, alternating with the demons that are CAL FIRE, stomping in and out of their rooms, using their doors, their hotel room doors, to engage in audible activity creation, which is somehow creating earthquake-like conduct inside of my room, rumbling, vibration. All of this inhumane suffering, in other words, systematic infliction of inhumane suffering by a demon-possessed entity, that is the state of California. Literally, it's the state, because CAL FIRE is group stalking, and they are doing so. And you can even compare the Miami Police Department with CAL FIRE, who are under a remarkable environment. The fact of a light source that's remaining stationary at the same time, and somehow the one sun, because we don't have 14, we only have one, the one sun that is, as a matter of documentation, that is conclusive evidence of what is remaining over me at one address for the duration of the day, which is exactly what I'm showing in my documentation in Monrovia, California. I used that time to juxtapose what Tyreek Hill was subject to by the Miami Police Department in that specific environment, and also in what is San Diego, California, capturing that light source directly over me in a manner, all of which is impossible while it's seen through my window in Hesperia. Okay, so that's what you're not cognizant of. And Tyreek Hill is in Florida when I'm capturing what is an ability to juxtapose and identify a crime scene where the entity, contrary to what they're stating on the news, so let me just go to that right now, because what they're stating on the news, this is going to, so let me go through the screenshots first. So give me 1 second to arrange this so that you can see it. All right, so what I'm capturing here, so let's just keep this here. And also, just to remind you, just a refresher, what I captured this morning at the same address, which was the sunrise. This was 7:16 a.m. I'm inside of the same hotel, 9750 Key Point. Okay, this is inside of the same hotel. This is a demon. This is a third-party group stalker at 7 in the morning, 7:09 in the morning. And this is impossible light activity that you will see on the floor inside of that hotel room. I'm on the same floor, the third floor. This is amber colored sunlight appearing in the middle of the floor while the blinds are closed, okay? Blinds being open, sunlight does not appear in this manner inside of buildings, underneath structures. This is something that you've been looking at and you have not actually been looking at it and paying attention. It's absolutely impossible that light is appearing in this manner inside underneath covered structures, okay? This is on its face direct evidence of federal group stalking and monitoring. And it's also the time, speaking to 7:09 a.m. And the entity is right now at 3:02 p.m. stalking with the use of a hotel door that's closing at the same time as I'm manipulating my phone screen. That's a demon that has that uncanny ability to do that. And you know that because the fake sun is stationary, because the engineer light, which is for the criminal purposes of demons who are stalking with noise on a constant basis, which is a basis of very serious recovery, which is serving to deter and punish the entity that's group stalking you. So this is the light source at 7:09 in the morning. This is engineer light. I'm on the same floor. This is the third floor, and this is room 321. So I'm on the opposite side of the same floor, on the third floor, and the entity is maintaining this engineer light that you're looking at inside of my hotel room. And also let me show you, because I went down to the entrance to show you the fake sun. And let's just see how small this building is. This is the building. This is the address of Holiday Inn. So right here where it says AA beside the exit, right here where I'm tapping the screen, you can see the little dot. That's where the entrance is, where I captured the sunrise. On the hallway window is where you see the stick man. That's where 7-Eleven is facing. And my hotel room is on this side of the building, not in perfect alignment with the entrance. It's on this side of the building here, where the entity's keeping the fake sun at the hallway, then going in alignment with my hotel room, which is what I'm capturing now at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And where the entrance is right here, at the front entrance is where the sunrise was captured on video during the 7 a.m. Time. And so that's what I want to remind you about what I captured. Ongoing evidence at 7:16 in the morning. Transit, group stalking, under the same fake sun that at 9 a.m. is directly over Target, and Victor Valley was group stalking at the entrance of Target while the fake sun was over the top of my head. All this fake sun does is it rises. So this light source is present at the venue, and it is the guise under which impossible light activity is appearing, stretching into the depths of a hotel room, just like you're seeing now at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, on the same floor, the third floor, the opposite side of that same hotel building. So 321 is across from my room on the same third floor level. The entity's aiming engineer light through the depths of a hotel room on the opposite side of the same hallway. And at 3 o'clock, that's 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 6 hours later, in the same hotel, engineer light is being pushed through onto the surfaces inside of the building, which is impossible light activity. You're also analyzing based on the duration of time. That is evidence of non-movement of a so-called sun, which could not possibly be over Tyreek Hill when he was subject to a traffic stop in the specific environment, which is not the natural environment, which is providing greater context regarding everything that's purportedly lawful, that is granting alleged authority under the law, where the government is exercising fictitious authority that it doesn't actually have. And it's also demonic. Okay, so I want to make sure that you are recognizing this, because I'm using it to juxtapose the crime scene where the demons who are CAL FIRE, they're going to federal prison. The people of the state, they're going to federal prison. And you're talking about a substantial recovery from the people of the state, not just Holiday Inn. Everybody around this hotel is engaging in what is profiting while conspiring to sacrifice an American citizen, because that's why you're group stalking. And group stalking is occurring in an environment where the sun does not move all day long, and where impossible light activity fills and covers and surrounds and molests everywhere you're going, while people are surrounding you at all times, and where the ongoing incessant noise creation, that which is occurring through demonic means as well. No person moving. They're all hiding in their hotel rooms, in other words, while earthquakes and rumblings and vibrations are filling your walls, ceilings, and floors. That's what CAL FIRE and the demons who are group stalking at Holiday Inn with CAL FIRE are engaging in. And so are the demons that are driving all around. That's why amplification via traffic, the evidence that the population is group stalking you. All right, and this is shown based on this duration of time analysis. This is 7:24 a.m. and I am at the same address where the fake sun remains right now. All right, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And so with that, I want to go into what I captured regarding Tyreek Hill's traffic stop. Because I'm juxtaposing crime scenes. And there is a legal context regarding what the state is doing, and the state is doing it in a very specific and readily identifiable environment, and it just so happens to be demonic, which is relevant to the prosecution of any public entity for terrorism, and that shall be recognized under federal law. Also for civil recovery, SIIS, which is what I advocate, something analogous to tortious tort law that provides the ability to recover. However, federal group stalking and monitoring is a crime. It's a series of federal crimes committed by a public entity. It's a matter of public corruption. And so civil recovery is based on criminal conduct by an entity, including the people of the state. And it is based on systematic infliction of inhumane suffering. That's what that acronym is. When demons are stalking you, they are systematically stalking you, which is terrorism. It is inhumane while an entity is group stalking you, doing so through demonic means, demonstrating demon possession. It is entirely inhumane. It is abnormal. It's mentally deranged. And this is something that the government is doing with that population. That is relevant to the acronym created SIIS. And it is analogous to, again, what's already on the books, things such as intentional infliction of emotional distress, IIED. All right, again, this is not tortures, this is criminal. And it is something that the people of the state who are being exposed as not legitimate businesses, but domestic terrorists, who will be treated as persons under federal law. Persons who are sex offenders, persons who are engaged in criminal conduct, profiting while they're engaged in criminal activity on behalf of the state. They are going to be listed as corrupt businesses who are engaged in domestic terrorism, seeking to murder and kidnap American citizens, because that's what you're doing in the specific environment while you're also making $1. The demons who are group stalking, including the state as well, Cal Fire, are paying you while you're group stalking with that state. I mean, it does not get any lower with regard to the depths of hypocrisy. Or rather, how you ever want to face that, the heights of hypocrisy. But nonetheless, it is unjust that you keep any of that. You're going to drain the pockets, and it is designed to punish the people of the state and the state as well. The corrupt companies will also be treated as persons and prosecuted as sex offenders, because the government's engaging in a massive sex offense, keeping women and men, children, the people, in other words, American citizens, under surveillance in private spaces. They're in your castle. They're engaged in any and every personal and private activity that you have going on, even when you are engaged with the entity, because you remain the targeted individual. All right, and the entity is maintaining, keeping you under surveillance while you're engaged in any, for example, sexual activity that you did not consent to engage in with the entity. You didn't consent to that, and it is analogous, and it will be prosecuted as the creation of pornography created without your consent, your knowledge. All right, if you knew that you were under surveillance, in other words, that was a third party and or state actor, you would not have consented to that, and that is going to be reasonably construed based on the facts and the pattern of conduct. The entity is also engaged in sexual violence, such as putting cameras in your private space, watching you on the internet while you're nude, engaged in living your life in a private space, putting cameras in any hotel room, which is a private space. The entity is engaged in criminal conduct, which is already existing as sexual violence on the books in natural law. Okay, so they're engaging in what is the demonic, all right, and has not been recognized or prosecuted under federal law. The government is doing so maliciously, and it is engaging in what is the ongoing conspiracy it's designed to criminally defame, to psychologically torment, to result in the loss of life. That is a murder. And the entity is still going to be held responsible for any loss of life, even where that target individual takes their own life. The entity will be held responsible. So this is all speaking to what it is that I documented. It is in the news, September 8th, 2024. Tyreek Hill was subject to a traffic stop. And again, I want to go ahead and show this. So give me one moment and let me arrange this so that you can see it together. For analytical purposes, it is better to see it with your own eyes. And again, copyright purposes, so I'm not going to show the entire video. I'm going to show what is relevant with regard to what I'm showing is happening. And I did go through my evidence, and you can review this video. You can look at the dates, because everything that I document is captured on a day-by-day basis. So for example, the sunrise, the AM hours, I'm currently in Hesperia, and all of this is also gathered as you review the evidence that is public information. Anyone can look at what it is that I'm speaking to, what I'm documenting, what I'm exposing, even as I use Tyreek Hill's experience with police officers and a an entirely different region, an entirely different state on a different coast, and juxtaposing it with the ability to recognize criminal conduct of a demonic nature. And this is speaking to, again, providing context and the conversation by these police associations that are speaking to the fact that they have authority, and they actually don't. They're engaging in a secret surveillance system. They don't have any authority when surveillance is underway. And the surveillance system is recognized through the specific environment. So this is providing greater context regarding the rights that are being infringed upon, and the discretion that is, again, unfettered, and it's also unjust, it's unmerited, it's unwarranted, it's unlawful. They don't have the right, they don't have authority in the specific environment, but they are currently masquerading as law enforcement agencies, and they're engaging in this system. And that's exactly what I'm subject to in California. I'm just using it as a means of for the prosecution of the state, because I'm going to prosecute the state with what Tyreek Hill was subject to under a light source that's impossible to be the sun. Why? Because there's only one, and there's not 14. And the one that's remaining over Holiday Inn all day long could not possibly be anywhere in Miami, Florida at all. This is also why you document. The nature of this system is satanic. If you did not know, Satan is real, Satan is a spirit, and Satan is a liar. You will document the entity that is demon possessed, very malicious. The government is engaging in abusing its authority, abusing any and all the resources that it has while it bullies the small guy. That's the American citizen whom it is targeting. You're going to document the entity, and nothing that the entity presents or represents or claims will ever supersede the evidence of what is the pattern of conduct. It is the irrebuttable presumption of public corruption, by the way, when you're showing the pattern of conduct that the entity provides probable cause for the federal government to investigate and prosecute. And so the entity thinks, oh, well, they're in prison because we convicted the court. We, the state, having the authority to do so, invested in all that authority under the Constitution, we have the right to convict based on the facts and evidence. And that's exactly what justice requires. That's why that defendant is in federal prison, and that defendant is a targeted individual. And the pattern of conduct is evidence speaking to the ability to question everything that the state would like to present and assumes, and again, unjustly, is never questioned about it. That needs to change. They don't have authority under the law when you're showing the P.O.C. So that's what California is engaging in, and you can see it while Tyreek Hill is subject to an unlawful arrest. It's unlawful. But I'm not going to get into that. I'm going to leave that alone. That you're analyzing it based on the superficial reality that we are in California, that we're actually under a constitutional system that the government is respecting and bound by, as opposed to actually masquerading as a constitutional system, law enforcement agencies, for example, exercising authority that they have under the existing laws, and are actually respecting that. And let me just say this with regard to the pattern of conduct. I'm just going to say this. Based on the pattern of conduct, those are demons that pulled Tyreek Hill over, okay? And they did so. And I'm not speaking to the condition of Tyreek Hill. I'm not going to leave that, because right now I'm talking about a prosecution, the ability to prosecute the state. Remember, this is the state's pattern of conduct. So I'm not going to speak with regard to the Tyreek Hill who was pulled over with regard to his condition in the same specific environment. This is the state's pattern of conduct, and this is the ability to enforce your rights. So the entity, the government that's in the specific environment, is pulling him over. And with regard to the P.O.C. and what the entity is cognizant of, what they know, which you are ignorant of, those are demons that knew his seatbelt was not on. They know exactly who he was, and they're under the light source and in the specific environment doing so with all the rest of the people of the state, by the way, while their vehicle lights are on, and they're all in relevant position. The people of the state are in relevant position, and they're all engaged in federal stalking and surveillance, literally while that traffic stop is underway. It's referred to as criminal summoning. It's also harassment by an entity that already knows who you are. They already know whether your seatbelt is on or not. They know when my panties are down and when they're not. They know what I'm doing on my cell phone. They know what it is that I'm copying and pasting and screenshotting and uploading onto the internet. Those are the demons that are pulling you over and stating, oh, when they see you, how come you don't have your seatbelt on? They already knew that. That's the malice of the system. But again, I'm going to digress from that. I am showing this for purposes of showing you the specific environment. This is the prosecution of the state of California. California is fully engaged in the demonic system of federal group stalking and monitoring, and they're doing it with the people of the state. And they use traffic stops, by the way, to engage in the elements of monitoring with the people of the state, including the demon that's getting pulled over. I'm not going to analyze Tyreek Hill, but I will analyze the state. The Miami Police Department, I'm analyzing them with regard to the pattern of conduct and the ability to enforce your rights. That's all I'm going. And other than that, I'm going to keep my opinions regarding the law and regarding the lawfulness of that stop and the condition and everything spiritually that's going on there, I'm going to leave all of that alone because this is the state's pattern of conduct. And so I am speaking to based on the P.O.C. as it's underway, as the evidence establishes, and everything that the entity already knows when they're masquerading as law enforcement agencies who are limited with natural knowledge, probable cause, reasonable suspicion, based on facts that they have access to, that they lawfully are in control over or have access to. But this, you're not dealing with the natural conduct and the carnal man. You're dealing with spirits. You're dealing with demons. And it's malicious. So nonetheless, I'm going to digress there. This is speaking to the pattern of conduct again. And I just created so that you can see what this is about. This is about Tyreek Hill's stop, and the time frame is also documented, and so that's what's shown there, and just so that you're aware of that. And so this is what I captured because I didn't want to have the whole video copyright issues with it, and all of that. Again, with regard to prosecution for the government, there are laws that also need to be adjusted because there shall be nothing that interferes with the target individual's ability to publish evidence that's showing the fact that the state is stalking, or establishing the fact or reasonable basis for the federal government to investigate where you're blowing the whistle, the government's conspiring to murder and kidnap you, their group stalking you. So using a video that's on the internet should not be removed for copyright purposes. You're not trying to make money. You're not trying to copy off of someone else's idea. You're trying to document the state that's actively threatening your life. So there are things that need to change, but at this point right now, I'm just taking screenshots. That's what this is. And I'm comparing what you're looking at. Tyreek Hill was subject to on, it looks like September 8, 2024 at 10:20 a.m. This is the traffic stop. You're looking at the shadows. Everything is you're showing. This is indeed the light source. That's the time that's provided. And you can also tell by literally the shadows of everything on the ground. And I'm showing you what's happening. First, I'm using the 3-hour difference. Florida's 3 hours ahead of us. So at 10:20 a.m. in Florida, it's 7:20 a.m. here in Hesperia, which again, I'm just using it with regard to where I'm at. And this was evidence that I had freely, just going through my cell phone. I have a wealth of evidence, which is providing for what is the surefire prosecution. The state of California is already prosecuted. It's already prosecuted. Okay, I literally just went through my cell phone. This is just what I had on hand. The entity, in other words, I have far more evidence than this. This is just what I had randomly. So pulling up 7:20 a.m., that's based on respecting the 3-hour difference. But again, you're not dealing with the natural environment. So I want to show you evidence of what is, again, at the same time. How is Tyreek Hill under the sun that's rising in alignment to me in Hesperia, California at 7:20 a.m. This is 10:20. This is the light source in perfect alignment with the window when I'm on the first floor at the breakfast area at 9750 Key Point Avenue in Hesperia, California, San Bernardino County, Southern California, and Florida, Miami, Florida at 10:20 in the morning. The entity is at the same time under a light source where notably they're subject to an arrest. Okay. The legality of this arrest is based on the presence of the specific environment, not even if there wasn't unlawful force, not even if this wasn't, for example, some sort of means of harassment or whatnot. Let's just say he's missing a license plate and you've got reasonable suspicion to pull him over. And meaning you're also not just engaging in trying to harass, because this is what Las Vegas Metro did. First of all, they're group stalking. Second of all, they have the ability in their software and their communication devices to pull up whether or not it's actually paid up with the DMV. Now, just because you have the ability, the discretion to pull someone over for something as minor, you're making decisions moment by moment. Okay. Is it really worth it? Is it necessary? There might be maybe this is a person with a criminal record. Maybe this person's on probation. Maybe they're problematic. I mean, there may be different facts in a way, but you're making a decision. Do you really need to pull this person over and engage in a long, elaborate means of just standing around? This is what Las Vegas Metro did while they were group stalking. And not only that, the demons, they know exactly who I am. That's why the fake sun was remaining over me in Las Vegas, Nevada. All right. So you're harassing the wrong person, first of all, but I'm going to digress on that end. The entity is making decisions moment by moment. They have unfettered discretion at this point. And this is serving for the toxic environment that equals federal group stalking and monitoring, by the way. The lawfulness, the legality of this is based on also, which shall include, which is not a part of the discussion right now, the specific environment. That's determining the legality of what's going on here. That this is not a part of the conversation right now. And this is something that is very helpful with regard to what's going on the opposite coast at the same time. At 7:20 in the morning, I'm looking at a sunrise. There's only one sun. Okay, and I put sunrise in air quotes. The sunrise is during the 6 a.m. hour, which I also have on the record, but for illustrative purposes, let's do the same time, at or around the same time, 7:19, 7:20, 7:23, 7:26. This is the time I'm focusing on. And the entity is maintaining a light source. So at 7:20, when the light source is through my window and it's over Tyreek Hill at the same time when he's subject to an arrest by Miami police, the entity is aiming engineered light also. While you're looking at the maintenance of a light source, this is supposedly the sun. We've only got one and not 14, and it's directly over them. You can see the shadows of the vehicles, and I'm looking at a light source outside of the window in Hesperia and at the Holiday Inn and at the same time 3 hours earlier, and this is the engineered light. That's the product. How do you have this light activity? That's the sun over them in Miami, Florida. The two are not, in other words, happening at the same time. It's not even over Alvarado Gardens in this manner, as I've documented through the living room window, contrary to what I've captured day in and day out. This is what I mean with regard to a specific environment and identifying what is a crime scene, and opening your eyes with regard to what is a demonic imitation of the natural environment, where the government is actually masquerading as having authority that it does not in fact have under the Constitution. In the specific environment, I've already shown the P.O.C. The entity is stalking in helicopters. The entity is stalking in police, fire, and ambulance vehicles. CAL FIRE is here demonstrating that. Maintaining rooms and hotel rooms all around me, and not just that. They're not just under the fake sun. They are demonstrating the fact that they're a bunch of demons stalking with noise all day and all night. In other words, as long as the demons are here, that's what they're doing. Maintaining ongoing course in conformity to the demonic pattern of conduct. So it's not just presence, remember, it's the demonic behavior. That's how you're aware of demons. So anyway, the entity is engaged in this criminal pattern of conduct. This is light activity that's impossible to occur at the same time. While you compare the scenes, it's impossible to occur as you isolate it, because sunlight is not shooting horizontally through buildings, through windows, creating light activity on your ceiling, multiple shadows upright day and night. Also, it's the same exact light activity at nightfall. This is a pattern of conduct where what's occurring in that environment has context. And the legality or illegality is not just based on the surface regarding what was stated, regarding the reason for the stop, regarding whether they put hands on Tyreek at all. It's also based on the environment, which no one is paying attention to. It's identifying criminal surveillance of a demonic nature. Okay, because it's demonic does not mean it's any less unlawful. So the entity is maintaining this environment in California, in Hesperia, while at the same time I'm showing you what is a light source that's over them. So this is in Monrovia, California. On the bottom is me. This is where I'm at, documenting the environment, the criminal system that's underway. And by the way, at the same time, on August 13, 2024, and what's happening on August 13, 2024 regarding a sunrise is going to happen on August 14th, August 15th, August 16th, August 17th. And there's only one sun, and the sunrise is not seen universally over every state, every person, everywhere, no matter where you're located, no matter whether you're living in the mountains, no matter whether you're living in the desert, no matter whether you're living at the Ontario Museum of History and Arts on the side of the building at the same time. That's not the sun. That's not the natural environment. This is where the state is stalking idiots, working for fire departments, exposing how the state's pattern of conduct works, and the fact that only demons are group stalking. Only demons. That's what CAL FIRE represents. Okay? And so do the demons who are housekeeping. They're working together. And that is being juxtaposed with what is a light source over them, a police department, under a light source that cannot possibly be the sun. I want to be clear. The maintenance of a specific environment is there for a purpose. It's not there coincidentally. It's not there accidentally. This is speaking to what is intent, and also the behavior of the state actors, because that's what I'm going to refer to these police. They're not police officers. These are, this is an entity. These are state actors. And so the specific environment is revealing an entity. It's revealing public corruption. It's revealing demons who are masquerading as police officers. And they tend to engage in harassment. They tend to engage in what is the inability to control themselves. They tend to engage in things such as abuse of power, abuse of position, abuse of authority. This is characteristic of those of that condition, by the way, and they happen to be engaged in stalking and then feigning ignorance about learning about the seatbelt when they're pulling you over. Demons know what you're doing. That's why they're stalking with audible activity when I'm inside of a hotel room. That's the same knowledge that demons have while they're masquerading as police departments. Remember what LAPD was doing under the fake sun. You are aware of the pattern of conduct in Miami, Florida, when you're looking at the light source over them, which is entirely different from where I'm at the bottom. August 13, 2024, at the same time. That's not seen through the window at Holiday Inn in Hesperia. This is Hesperia at 7:20. This is Monrovia, California at 7:21 a.m. This is the pattern of conduct. Both of these, first of all, Hesperia and Monrovia are not the same. That you're looking at a pattern of conduct, however. with regard to a specific environment that remains, by the way, over me for the duration of the day. And then you're going to juxtapose it with what is occurring in Miami, Florida, and that cannot possibly be the case. That's not possible. That's through my window in Courtyard Marriott in Monrovia, California, is not over, meaning not the natural environment. It's not seen also somewhere in Florida. This is a light source, and this is the 3-hour difference as well. This is speaking to more than one light source, in other words, okay? You're not throwing common sense out of the window. You're not throwing logic out of the window, and we are not discarding away with facts, okay? And what you can reasonably deduce from evidence that no one can deny. And again, this is evidence that's on the Google Drive. So what I documented on August 13, 2024 for the duration of the day, it's public information. It's evidence that's going to be used to prosecute, but it is information. You can go look at it yourself. So the pictures that I take, I include, when I take screenshots, I show the timestamp in the picture, but the evidence itself, it's just a JPEG image, and you can look at the time. The name of the image is shown, right? In the same way that I took a screenshot today, I took the screenshot at 2:20 p.m. So the picture itself, though, is published for the day of August 13, 2024. And you're going to follow the trail of evidence where the pattern of conduct is following, where the state is stalking me, going from place to place. And I did that as I go from city to city, county to county, and the same exact hallmarks, the same exact pattern of conduct. This pattern of conduct is underway in Miami, Florida, in the state of Florida, in other words. This is what the entity is doing. So what is it that they're driving under? The light source reflecting off of the vehicles of those on the 210 freeway in Monrovia, California. When you're looking at what supposedly, there's only one son. This is how exclusive it is. And it's over Tyreek Hill while he's subject to an arrest in Miami, Florida. So pray tell, how can it be reflecting over any vehicles in California at the same time? The 3-hour difference noted. This is impossible to be the case. The only thing that's maintaining ubiquitous presence over everyone, everywhere, never moving, is the sky, not the sun. Okay, so the entity is maintaining this, and this is what I'm documenting with regard to the light source. This screenshot with this, well, this is the picture, a screenshot of the picture that was taken 7:21 a.m. on August 13th, and I'm showing you the people of the state. Their activity, which is monitoring, and you know that because of the specific environment and the fact that they admit that they're demons who are stalking you, because the sound of the traffic was documented, and it's within the pattern of conduct that the people of the state group stalk you while their activity at a far distance is somehow heard inside of whatever space that you're in, while notably that light source is over you all day long. That's the admission by the people of the state who are demons who are group stalking you. All right, and this is occurring while there's a traffic stop in Miami, Florida under a light source, which is not the natural environment. All right, this is giving context regarding identifying what's happening in this country and what is, again, facts that are not actually facts. There's context, there's an aspect of the things that we're witnessing, that we're making commentary of, that we're accepting as true, we're accepting as lawful, we're accepting as appropriate. And this is a whole aspect of the pattern of conduct by a public entity that's not even being discussed. And legality and illegality of the state is to include whether or not state surveillance is underway. It's to include whether or not the P.O.C. is underway. That's what's a determining factor as well. Okay, and that's not a part of the conversation while the entity is engaged in providing information. Oh, well, Tyreek, he wasn't cooperative with the lawful request of the officers. I just want to state it's not a lawful request to engage in an unlawful stop. You're engaged in group stalking, surveillance. So that means at the outset, you never have any authority under the Constitution to engage in a traffic stop based on the doctrines of reasonable suspicion and or probable cause, because you're engaged in criminal conduct. It is analogous to the doctrine of fruit of the poisonous tree, but it's just to a greater level because the government's engaged in a whole surveillance system. You don't have any lawful authority where the P.O.C. is underway. So you're talking about refusing to roll down your window to a terrorist that's group stalking you day and night? This is the greater context that's not being discussed. This is what's not included in the analysis of determining what's legal and illegal regarding a police traffic stop. And it needs to be, because this is what the government is doing in the U.S. So I want to point this out. This is what an entity is doing with regard to a lawful request. It's not a lawful request when you're engaged in state surveillance. All right. So in other words, the entity, well, the logic behind that is, well, even if it's not a lawful request, you abide by an unlawful request by a domestic terrorist who's carrying weapons and threatening your life. And it's just better for you to comply with those unconstitutional requirements of terrorist organizations who have the ability to kill you, basically. That's what the logic behind what the entity, these police associations, and what the people of the state who are reporting the news, giving their commentary, necessarily also to condition your mindset, to condition the way that you're looking at things. All right, so I just want to include that, and I'm going to leave that alone. But this is the light source at 10:20, and this is the engineered light inside of the building in Hesperia. This is Hesperia again at 7:20 in the morning, and you can see that timestamp. This is light activity that's supposedly the product of the sun. Well, the sun is over 3 hours ahead at the same time in Florida. So this is light activity that is incongruent with the placement of the sun in Miami, Florida, and also at the same time in alignment with Hesperia, California, the entrance of the holiday, and where I remain, by the way, continuously juxtaposing. This is Monrovia again, and the entity is maintaining this light source. So I'm sorry, let me go in the opposite direction. So I am capturing the light source, and I'm taking multiple screenshots so that you can see. This is the people of the state. This is relevant positioning, light activity, and it's audible activity while the entity amplifies the sound of traffic inside of my hotel room, which is already documented in Monrovia. It's also a part of the pattern of conduct, because the people of the state are demon-possessed group stalkers in Cali. They're group stalking, all right? And it is statewide. So the entity is maintaining this environment. This is the light activity. And, apologies, let me make sure which way I'm going. Yeah, so I'm capturing different angles of the light. I zoomed in, and I'm capturing the light activity on the vehicles. Sorry, the light activity on the vehicles, that's actually light activity. And demons are exhibiting the fact that they are demon-possessed while they engage in light activity and audible activity in the engineered environment. And that's actually what you're looking at when you're looking at what's supposed to appear as a traffic stop, where the entity is supposed to and is presumed to have authority to do so. And you're actually looking at a demonic pattern of conduct, and it's referred to as criminal summoning. This is also where I'm showing you an ongoing juxtaposition. That's what I was doing. So the same pictures as I zoom in so you can see closer the time, and you can also see closer. That's clearly the light source over, and I'm clearly looking at it through the windows here in Hesperia, California. At 10:23 a.m., Tyreek Hill's buddy, his teammate, is standing right under the light source. This is in Miami, Florida. You can see the light source through the windshields of the vehicles. That's called relevant positioning for analytical purposes. Right? But this is occurring in California. They're under a light source. It's not the sun. And it remains, by the way, it's not just the fact of same time analysis, which is what I'm showing, comparing Tyreek Hill's experience in the specific environment with what the entity is doing in Hesperia at one address, 9750 Key Point Avenue, because this light source remains for the duration of the day, which is exactly what I'm continuously documenting. The entity is maintaining this light source. 7:26 a.m. above. This is 10:23 a.m. That's why I use that time. Tyreek Hill's buddy is standing. You can see his shadow. It's right in front of him. That's speaking to the immediacy of that light source, which, by the way, you can also see through the windshield. It's right there above him. And at the same time, the entity is maintaining a light source. 7:20 a.m. 7:26 a.m. It's seen right through his windshield. That's directly in Miami, Florida. That is not at the entrance area of Hesperia Holiday Inn Express and Suites at the intersection of Main and Key Point, where, by the way, at no point does this light source ever leave. It stays here in Hesperia. So however is there going to be a sun in what is Miami, Florida over Tyreek Hill, while demons that include Cal Fire and the demon possessed are at 3:34 p.m. on surveillance cameras, opening and closing doors, stalking with audible activity. Those are the demons that engage in wearing a badge and then pulling you over, already knowing what you're physically doing inside of your car, knowing who you are, knowing whether you have your seatbelt on or not. And that is how you know it, based on the demonic pattern of conduct that the demons at Holiday Inn are engaging in. Okay, it's called malice that the government is engaging, while demons are making up terrorist organizations that like to engage in stalking in helicopters, and they engage in criminal summoning, masquerading as law enforcement agencies engaging in what is pulling the people of the state over, group stalking the target individual, and also pulling the target individual over for purposes of threatening to engage in kidnapping, threatening to engage in what is you're actually engaging in a fictitious exercise of authority, which is immediate grounds of federal prison, which is what, again, Las Vegas Metro Police engaged in. That whole gang of demons in Las Vegas, where the fake sun is remaining over Hesperia, setting even, and the entity in that specific environment, which was preceding my presence, going to document the state of California by going to Nevada, that evidence was already on the record, and those fools engaged in the exercise of fictitious authority, that equals federal prison. So they're going to federal prison, and you can look at Las Vegas Metro Police Department in the specific environment, the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department in the specific environment, Cal Fire, this is a state agency, engaging in the specific environment, and the Miami Police Department in the specific environment, which I'm juxtaposing here in this screenshot. 7:26 a.m., 3 hours hours ahead, same time, in other words, based on the 3-hour difference, 10:23 a.m., a 3-hour minute, a negligible difference. This is a light source that you could see through his teammates' windshield and the vehicle, the body of the vehicle. This is not anywhere this is not the same sun. In other words, there's only one. However, I'm showing direct evidence of what is a scientific impossibility. Demons are in this environment, and they're also stalking you, engaging in what is referred to as group stalking, gang stalking, which is a government system. This is showing, again, at 7:24, 3 hours ahead. This is what I captured today, this morning. And it's, again, the traffic stop is occurring on September 8, 2024 at 10:23 a.m., where it's seen through the windshield of Tyreek Hill's a teammate. And I'm capturing September 11th at 7:24 a.m. based on essentially the same time, 3-hour difference based on that framework. But I'm also going to show you even at the same time, 10:23 a.m., 10:20. Guess where the light source is in California and Hesperia over me? It's at the same address, which is, again, you're going to look back at what's already documented. What in the world was remaining over my head at Alvarado Gardens while the entity was stalking in helicopters? But the LAPD, they engaged in such gross conduct. They were confident that they were going to either murder and kidnap me. That's why they engaged in that lawlessness on video. And that's the only reason why you do that. Because you're confident. It doesn't matter what you're documenting. This is what the entity is communicating. It doesn't matter what you're documenting because we're going to take your life. We're going to kidnap you. So it doesn't matter. That's what the entity is reasonably communicating and actually communicating by doing so as a matter of documentation. By doing so, it's providence for you to understand the entity is doing so in a specific environment that remained over Alvarado Gardens. And so how is this ever a sunrise here? How was there ever any sun in Miami, Florida? Okay, you're recognizing the conduct that's occurring, and it's called stalking. The entity is stalking in a demonic environment. The fake sun, as I've shown, remains over me, where I stay all day long, don't move, and anywhere that I go. That's how you have that pattern of conduct underway. And the entity is doing so with regard to, again, the setting. So it's present from providing an analysis. So at 10:23 in the morning, which would be essentially 7:23, 7:24 in the morning between California and Florida, this is the light source in alignment, rising, if you will, in alignment to me. And it's remaining over this traffic stop that's occurring with Tyreek Hill. And then you've got, it's still remaining in alignment to me as a matter of documentation as I'm still at the Holiday Inn in Hesperia. This is where a sunset is documented in alignment to my window. When you are looking at the light source right now during a 3 p.m. hour, it's over the top of my window at this hotel. At what point, based on that evidence, is there any movement of this light source, which on its face is speaking to the specific environment? It's not the natural environment, not providing any ability for there to be a sun over Tyreek Hill at 10:20 in the morning, 10:23 in the morning. It's remaining stationary. It's 7:24 to 6:42 p.m. It's not moving anywhere. It stays here in Hesperia. Duration of time analysis. The crime scene established on its face. Also juxtaposing at 10:23 in the morning, 7:24 in the morning, same time. This is where the light source is at. That's impossible to be the case as well. There's no possible way that the sun, the one sun, unless we're talking about we have at least 14 or 1400, the one sun that exists, that's remaining over the building of Holiday Inn from the entrance side to the exit side facing the Motel 6, that's not possibly ever over anywhere in Florida, let alone Miami, Florida, let alone seen through the windshield where this traffic stop is captured. This is what I'm capturing on an ongoing basis. And so I did also include, and this is what on an ongoing basis, 6:49 p.m., this is capturing the impossible. Any window that I go to, this is the light source. I'm on the 3rd floor here. It's in alignment. I'm on the 1st floor here. And this is the light source beaming through the door on the 1st floor that's still facing the same Motel 6 direction where the sunset is, okay? The entrance area is where the sunrise is, facing Key Point Avenue. That duration of time, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's 11 hours. That's non-movement of the sun. When is it ever going to be in Miami, Florida? There's only one sun. The entity is engaging in the conduct as though the sun is the sky, and it's maintaining uniform presence over all of us, everywhere, no matter where you're at. This is showing you the same time, right where it's setting in alignment to my hotel room in Hesperia. This is showing you what's going on, the pattern of conduct in San Diego, California. This is the pattern of conduct, what's going on in the state of California. And as I juxtapose the traffic stop that Tyreek Hill was subject to in Miami, Florida, it's showing the criminal conduct that the state of California is engaging in. And it is a statewide system. Even going outside of the 3-hour difference, you have 10:27 a.m. Captured September 4, 2024. At 10:27, the fake sun is remaining at the same entrance where it's at 7:24 a.m. Okay, well, that's captured this morning, September 11th. On September 4th, 2024, that's at the same address. This is Key Point. This is Key Point Avenue, the same street. And 10:27 a.m., the light source is directly over my head. It's low enough, however, to appear underneath a covered structure that is on its face demonic. It's also demonic as you're recognizing it because it's at the same location 3 hours later. Because of the fact in the 7:24 a.m. it was a little lower, it's just heightened up a little bit to be at the same. That's not movement of the sun. And it is never going to be in Miami, Florida, based on that evidence. This is also where the entity is setting the light source. I'm at the same address. This is 646, the same building facing the Motel 6. Okay, this is the same Motel 6. This is impossible. And just throwing in another location where I've captured the same P.O.C. How could this be the sun when I'm in Hesperia and I documented the sunset in San Diego, California? This is what the entity is doing. The sun is not maintaining ubiquitous presence, seen everywhere, no matter where you're going, no matter what direction you travel, no matter even what state you're in. And you're understanding this based on the documentation because you're not actually thinking about it. And I understand that. The context of what the government is doing is occurring in this environment. And then from that environment, if you can, in your mind's eye, imagine you are establishing the specific environment. And under that umbrella, everything has a legal context. It's all relevant to what is a POC. The behavior in that specific environment, which is demonic, pursuant to real-time knowledge while a person is being kept under surveillance, both physically and also online. That's the federal stalking Title 18, 22618 subsections 1 and 2. And that's what I captured regarding the pattern of conduct. This is in Azusa, California, through the windshield of a vehicle when I'm at Hilton to Suites in Azusa, California at 10:21 a.m., juxtaposing it with the crime scene. The specific environment, okay, because that's not the sun. So what's seen through a windshield of a vehicle facing me inside of Hilton to Suites at Azusa, California, at the same time captured on August 23rd, 2024, the crime scene that Tyreek Hill is surrounded by. While he's subject to a traffic stop on September 8th, 2024 at 10:23 a.m. This is impossible to be the case. In other words, that's over him seen through his windshield in Miami, Florida is not capable of being seen over the building of the Hilton to Suites Hotel in Azusa, California, seen through a windshield of a vehicle facing me in Azusa, California. All right, this is the ongoing identification of a crime scene in the same way that you would walk upon any other scene where there's a murder that's taken place. You can see the weapon that's used, the fingerprints you would dust for. You're looking at the bloodshed. You're analyzing all of that. This is what you're doing when you're recognizing federal group stalking and monitoring, which is a malicious government system. It is, first of all, going to appear right in your face. Second of all, it's highly malicious. It is satanic, in fact. It is the work of the devil who is using the government to engage and maintain in concert with the constituents of the state. It's providing the illusion of a constitutional system that we have in the U.S. where you don't have any privacy. And by the way, the constituents in the state, the people of the state, they know that. They are a part of the criminal surveillance system. All right, they're group stalking with the rest of the entity that is the state proper, and the state vicariously that is group stalking the people of the state. This is how you have this environment, and this is how you have the demonic behavioral pattern of the people of the state who are engaging in that same exact invasion of privacy. It's the same exact demonic behavioral patterns pursuant to what it is that you're doing as you're doing it. And you've seen that thousands of times. You've seen it thousands of times, and this is literally what CAL FIRE, this is the government exhibiting demon possession. That is legally relevant. The fact that they're doing so, it's criminal conduct, and the demons are just doing it willy-nilly. They're going to be prosecuted, and you will also drain the pockets, and not just of Holiday Inn. This is providing context regarding what Tyreek Hill is actually subject to, and this is not currently a part of the dialogue at all. All right, so what you're looking at above his head at 10:23 a.m. on September 8, 2024, I'm giving you a screenshot, which is, again, another way that I am showing you the analysis regarding the specific environment. I'm at the same hotel. And so at the same entrance, in other words, at 7:19 a.m., which is relevant to this traffic stop that occurred at 10:23 a.m. based on the 3-hour difference between California and Florida. Okay, so at 7:19, that will be 10:19 in Florida. And here's the light source in alignment with the entrance at 9750 Key Point Avenue. And at the same entrance area, Okay, the entity where the entity is keeping the fake sun, getting to a position to be over the top of my head. I'm facing the same entrance where I was at 7:19 in the morning. Okay, it's a different day, but it's the same location. The sun is not engaging. Oh, I'm going to rise in Rialto, California today, and then I'm going to rise over, Courtyard by Marriott in Las Vegas, Nevada tomorrow, and then I think on Wednesday, I'm going to provide a beautiful sunrise over the Appalachians and, then just, go to Colorado and do a sunrise over there. There is one gaseous ball of fire, so we've been told, and it's the sun. And what's documented on Tuesday is going to be substantially similar to what's happening on Wednesday. And because of that, when you are going to an entirely different location, for example, another state, you're not going to have the same ecological address. You're not in the same position where that sunrise was captured the day before. When you're in an entirely different state, a different location, a different region, if you will. And this is, again, the idiotic aspect of the pattern of conduct. Literally, idiots are stalking under a fake sun. It is not rocket science with regard to documenting and prosecuting the state, but it is with regard to taking a term of years is what it's taken to accumulate the evidence to establish beyond a reasonable doubt, and basically showing also the conspiracy that exists between the people, the constituents, and the government itself to engage in group stalking, which is shown through their demonic behavioral patterns, which is shown through their engagement in activities together, such as criminal summoning. All right, such as you don't have coincidental presence in the path while there's an earthquake going on around me, okay, and it's an isolated earthquake and all manner of demonic conduct and demonic light, and you're standing right there in front of me, and only a psychopath is thinking, oh, that has nothing to do with me. Nobody knows about what you're going through. That's you over there. That's not common sense. That's not logic, and that's not even reasonable. And that's not how anything is going to be prosecuted whatsoever. These are demons that are engaging in psychological torture. That's a part of the crime, by the way. And it's showing the entity's mental illness, contrary to the malice behind the system that's supposed to falsely depict the targeted individual as suffering from some mental incapacity. It's malice through and through. But that's highly unintelligent that the entity engages in that, because that's literally what they're doing. They do that. Oh, the helicopter's flying in circles over your car. Everybody just nobody knows that. I mean, just another day. Nobody notices that. Nobody's noticing the earthquakes when the entity's flying over the apartment building and helicopters. What I documented on an ongoing basis at Alvarado Gardens. Following me to the bank, following me to the grocery store, okay? In group stalking, when I'm going to the DMV, the people themselves demonstrating demon possession. Your cars are not light rockets, light shooters. So how is light moving all across my person and all across the building of the DMV when you're driving at a far distance in the street? That's how demons are showing that they're targeting you. They do the same thing with audible activity when they're driving at a great distance away from you and somehow you're able to hear them. They're also demonstrating their demon possession and the fact that they're targeting you when they do so pursuant to your physical conduct, your physical activity, acting in sync with your movements. Also engaging in it when they know what you're documenting even about them, and they engage in it and they increase in that conduct, which is demonic. All of this is reasonably deduced as knowledge, cognizant about what's being documented. That's going to be relevant to that prosecution of the state. And it's all malice. So this is speaking to the light source that's at the same entrance, 7:19 a.m. to what is 11:46 a.m. That's providing, while it's at the same location, while this documentation is accumulated, there's not possibly any sun that could be over anywhere in Miami, Florida. Anywhere other than Hesperia at the same entrance, in other words. It's very exclusive. Okay? And yet what you have here is a fake sun that's remaining at the same address. Here it is right here. At what is 3:49 p.m. on Wednesday, September 11, 2024. And this is where the entity is keeping a fake sun setting in alignment to me. And this is evidence of non-movement. Again, this is where the sun was rising. This is relevant with regard to the entity that is maintaining a light source for the duration of the day and everything that's happening, including group stalking demon-possessed firefighters who are violent sex offenders, keeping a woman under surveillance, and doing so showing the violent sex offenders that they are, because they continue and they do more sexually violent pattern of conduct that's analyzed based on the fact that you're group stalking someone in a hotel room. The fact that you know when they're nude, you know their physical movements while they're nude, you engage in the elements of monitoring, group stalking, harassment while they're in operation of a communication device. You're also mindful and aware of, which is predatory and sexually perverted while they're nude, engaging in any personal private activity. And the entity is doing so while they're wearing uniforms affiliated with the fire department. That's a sex offender. Group stalking by maintaining relevant positioning in the adjacent rooms and the rooms all across while the fake sun remains over the hotel all day until the evening, where the entity is then at nightfall maintaining the light source, maintaining the light activity. I just want to be clear, this is the entity, the employees, these are sex offenders as well. The people of the state, they're just shown through what, these are just demons, third parties, the state acting vicariously by working at the venue. Okay, the demons who are, again, those that are staying in the hotel whose license plates I document, they're group stalking at the 76, they're group stalking at the High Desert Shopping Gateway, it's relevant positioning, while the entity is maintaining ongoing conduct that is speaking to a very real and substantial prosecution. Ongoing methods of terrorism, audible activity, and sensational activity, and also the demons, the personality defect of the mentally ill who are group stalking you, they increase in their violence, they increase in their hostility, as opposed to ceasing to engage in criminal conduct or violent conduct and threatening conduct. The demon possessed who are mentally ill, they increase it, and they are hiding amongst titles such as CAL fire departments. They're hiding amongst as being housekeepers who are repetitively vacuuming in order to stalk in the path with light in the environment where the fake sun is remaining present over my hotel room, going from being on the side of the venue to jumping to being in alignment with my hotel room window, which is remaining at this location, setting in alignment, not moving, and advancing with impossible light into the depths of the hotel room. And the methods of impossible light activity appearing and disappearing. Okay, this is demonic. This is relevant to the noises that are maintaining presence inside of your hotel room while demons are keeping you under surveillance, knowing everything you're doing as you're touching your screen, as you're pulling your panties down, okay, as you are engaged in any personal private activity, as you are speaking to whatever conduct that you're documenting. The entity will not under any circumstances avoid federal prison while you are exercising your right to blow the whistle on the government that's keeping you under surveillance. And this is what I'm showing at 3:52 p.m. This is the pattern of conduct, not the natural environment on its face. And just to be clear, let me just show you what was this morning. Again, the fake sun that is, again, at the same venue at 7:16 a.m. And this is the video showing that light source that is indeed at this venue, as I am showing it at the entrance. And just sure that you can see that. I'm showing the impossible light going into the depths of the building onto the wall at the back of the hallway, but you're also seeing it while the blinds are closed inside of a hotel room facing this direction. The blinds were closed, so I want you to see the light source because it's kind of blurry, so you can't see. That's the object itself, okay? And it remains here. That's what you're looking at with regard to time of day, 7:24 a.m. to 3:53 in the afternoon. That's a supernatural, and so is the impossible light activity inside of the hotel room. That's the supernatural as well. And this is the light activity that's occurring at nightfall, and it's also not. It's not the result of the sun, which would not be stagnated at one address for, let's count the hours again, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, that's 8 hours, same address, same location, and this is a very small building, okay? So let's look again at the map of the building where the entity is providing evidence against the entire state of California. So from the front exit here at 7 in the morning, and I am on the opposite side of the building, and this is where the fake sun is at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. This is the hallway window where I'm showing the fake sun is remaining for every time I'm walking out the hallway, showing you the light activity. All right, this is a very small building, and it does not take 12 hours for the sun to go over the building. For it to remain, that's the evidence of what is surveillance. And surveillance in the specific environment is demonic. You're recognizing the demonic. The light activity is demonic. The audible activity is demonic. The timing with which activity is created in the specific environment is demonic. The stationary presence of a light source is demonic. And that's providing context regarding what you're looking at. That's called crossing a path. And activity creation while you're walking through it. And they act as one. You're looking at people who are in sync with one another. These are the demon possessed, and they're not even talking to each other. They're not having meetings. Everything that you're looking at and witnessing, and also what you hear, is pursuant to corporate knowledge by a bunch of demons who are stalking. And that's what is, again, perhaps news to a lot of people regarding demonic activity, because that's the reality of federal group stalking and monitoring. And this is providing, again, ongoing analysis regarding what Tyreek Hill was subject to. It is currently 3:54 p.m. This is evidence of what is a sex offense, which the people of the state and the state of California are going to be prosecuted for while it remains underway in Hesperia at Holiday Inn Express and Suites and 9750 Key Point. This is, again, the pattern of conduct where you have old, crusty men keeping a woman under surveillance. You have old white women keeping a woman under surveillance. You have firefighters keeping a woman under surveillance. You have corporate businesses that are engaging in surveillance and facilitating it. You have sex offenders that are driving large trucks coming across state lines, just stalking in the parking lot, creating light activity all times a day. The population is engaging in ongoing cooperative teamwork, okay? Sensational activity created right now while I start moving my arm like this, 3:55 p.m. There's nothing that's happening underneath that's going to create any sort of vibration. And because the entity acts with impunity, there's literally going to be damages that are going to be paid for that, an outpouring of damages, but it's not just Holiday Inn. They're all profiting while the fake sun remains over me, and the entity is engaging in the ongoing maintenance of elements of monitoring, and it's exposing what needs to be diagnosed and recognized, the fact that the demon possessed are actually mentally ill. Okay, a sane person would cease to engage in that which is clearly exposing what you sought to be secretive, what is clearly inappropriate and unlawful, what is clearly deranged. Not so with the demon possessed, which is the personality of Satan. Satan is using people. All right, and this is also speaking to the reality of the Lord Jesus Christ. He's giving a warning right now. He is coming back, and he's coming back in judgment. But right now, I just want to be clear. There is no but. I want to be in conformity to that, which is why this has happened to me, and this is why I'm going to prosecute the state. It's exposing demonic activity, massive demon possession in the state, and also showing you what's going on in the rest of the country while you're looking at what Tyreek Hill was subject to with regard to the state's criminal activity. And it is speaking to, again, what is the mentally ill who are posing a public safety concern because they're surrounding you. And these are the ticking time bombs that are currently walking around even without criminal records. They haven't been prosecuted under natural law for actually being sex offenders, for actually being terrorists who are targeting innocent people for no reason, and very psychotic methods, and obsessively so, even while they're looking at the evidence accumulating against them. There is no demon in any corner or crevice that's escaping prosecution. This is going to be for the prosecution of the whole state. Only the mentally ill engage in that, and that's what the demon possessed, the people of the state, the government itself, is exhibiting. And it's a threat to your safety wherever you're at. It is currently, again, 3:57 p.m. This is P.O.C. It is currently 6:27 p.m. on still the same date, September 11, 2024, and you'll see I'm guessing it's a Latino male. This is a demon-possessed person, so I've given you zoomed in on his face, just so that if you're curious about what demon possession, if you think someone's supposed to have horns in their head or they're supposed to like levitate, there's nothing majestic about the demon possessed. They're people that are walking around with the spirit of Satan on them, and many people have more than one demon on them. They have multiple demons, and it results in what is a very sick behavior that they engage in. And this just happens to be criminal conduct that the government is practicing. And so this is what is captured. This is a demon. This is a state actor, because it's CAL FIRE that employs the demon possessed who are engaged in the state's pattern of conduct. And they happen to be in the industry of firefighting. Their group stalking is all that. This demon in room 309 and all the demons that are pacing in and out on surveillance cameras in that room. And while they're engaged in relevant positioning by staying in a hotel room 309, and as I'm referencing these particular demons in this room, I am referencing the entire entity. The state of California is embodied in the psychotic, sexually violent, and terrorizing criminal activity that CAL FIRE, through a demon-possessed male and the rest of them who you saw group stalking, where the fake sun was over this hotel at this was 11 o'clock in the morning, and it's still in alignment to my window as I captured images after 5 o'clock. It was 5:20, and it's no longer at the side of the building where the hallway window is. It's moved to be in perfect alignment with my window, which is not near the edge of the building. That's how you know also that this is a demon wearing a CCC Camarillo shirt. That's CAL FIRE Camarillo County, and engaging in the pattern of conduct by group stalking in a hotel where the fake sun's remaining over me. And as I'm sitting in the desk, sitting in my hotel room in the desk chair, the ongoing sensational activity is created. And this is how demons such as CAL FIRE, who's utilizing a male to monitor a female. This is a sex offense that a fire department is engaging in, which is exactly what every police department, sheriff's department, the people of the state, you're talking about the commercial actor Holiday Inn, is engaging in a sex offense while all the entities group stalking together. The entity is acting through one demon, acting through all of them together. So the entity is doing so, and you'll see in screenshots, you'll see in the ongoing running document of the methods of terrorism that is incessant and continuous as I'm providing timestamps. And so, for example, at 6:04, the demons in 309 are on surveillance cameras. They're chit-chatting, laughing, having a great bro time. These are actually demons, and they're the moments that the door is closing And this is also witnessing the psychopaths, the sex offenders, and the demons that are operating on them. These are people that are literally just being used by Satan, and their demonic behavior is is being documented while I'm in operation of my phone. Even as I captured video, you were witnessing it. As I move, touch my phone screen, I'm calling out the demonic activity that the entity was literally engaging in on an ongoing basis, which it always is. But as I'm pointing out, closing the door, it's at the same time I'm touching the phone screen. That's not a coincidence. That's just paying attention to your environment, and the demons are always doing that. This is Cal Fire. Camarillo, and this is also shown through this relevant positioning. This is openly engaging in the criminal conduct by being in the hotel, being in the hotel room. The housekeeper is engaged in criminal conduct by being in the hotel, engaging in the use of a vacuum. It's the elements of monitoring. It's demonic behavior, which is designed to monitor. And this is the government engaging in criminal activity in plain sight on an ongoing basis. It also is the ongoing commission of the sex offense. And the reason why I'm capturing this now, the entity is amplifying audible activity inside of the hotel room while I go from like I'm leaning down, and as I change physical position, boom is heard inside of my room. That's amplified through the walls. Okay, this is what an entity is doing, including this morning, for example, when I'm sleeping with headphones on, and the entity is through headphones creating activity that is so disruptive that it's disrupting my sleep when I have headphones on. This is what's occurring when I get up and you're looking at the head demon over housekeeping, stalking in room 310. Okay, that's what Cal Fire is doing by maintaining presence in room 309. When amplified audible activity coexists with my physical movement of my body, demons are on surveillance cameras walking into the hallway. 6:32 p.m. is crossing a path. They do so pursuant to an ongoing demonic pattern. And then also while the demons listen to me point it out, they will do so as I'm speaking of it, as to rebut the evidence that they're engaging in the stalking with activity conduct. It is at all times activity creation. You're recognizing how demons are engaging in the method of targeting through the timing of the activity that's created. So they are fully engaging in a pattern of conduct. Again, it's the delusional psychopaths who are mentally ill. And that includes Cal Fire. That includes the demon over Cal Fire. His name is Joe Tyler. He is in the same way that the demons are working for Cal Fire. This is a demon that is in the position of a fire chief over Cal Fire. And this is the same psychotic conduct that is closeted by Joe Tyler. This is a sex offender that is being concealed by this demon, Joe Tyler, who's over the corrupt agency, Cal Fire, who is in San Bernardino County under a fake sun that's remaining over this hotel. At no point could it ever be the natural environment, by the way, coexisting in Miami, Florida, where Tariq Hill was subject to an arrest under a light source that's beaming above his head at 10:20 in the morning, which would be Eastern Standard Time. The entity kept the fake sun over this hotel where demons affiliated with Cal Fire, specifically in room 309, whose key card use is a matter of documentation affiliated with Holiday Inn Express, who's going to produce all of that information. The entrance and exit of the hotel rooms, the pacing conduct in the hallways on the surveillance cameras, and the entity is also doing so with real-time knowledge while they're engaged in federal stalking on an ongoing basis. Demons are engaging in conduct which is relevant to the ongoing retaliatory acts of the entity that is hostile and also fearful. Demons are not only psychotic, they're not only obsessed, they're also actually fearful of the fact that you know what they're doing and you know the ways in which they do it. But a psychopath engages despite that fear. It's not fearful enough, and that's also the purpose of prosecution, is to deter and also to punish severely, so that other people that have a lot to lose and don't recognize that it's better to stop than to lose everything, including your freedom. The entity is engaging in conduct to its own demise at this point. And so you will see, again, this is the appropriate label over the head of this demon that's in room 309. And this demon is joined with others. These are males that are engaging in a sex offense, and the entity engages in sexual violence openly. And these are males that are engaging in sexually perverted and criminal surveillance in the shoes of the state directly while engaging in federal stalking, based on what is ongoing real-time knowledge of literally my physical movement. And while I'm sitting in the desk chair also, and they are group stalking room 309, 307, 306, 310, 311, 209, 206, 207, 208, 210, 211, 109, 108, 110, 111. This is maintaining physical presence directly beneath me, to the sides, and in front. That's what I'm speaking to, the demons that are maintaining that presence. And you see how closely the housekeepers are alternating with the demons who maintain presence in that room. maintaining physical presence for purposes of monitoring while the fake sun remains over the hotel building all day long, rising and setting from key point to the motel inn vantage point in alignment to my window, maintaining alignment to my person no matter what window or door I'm standing in front of, which is not the natural environment, which is not shared with Miami, Florida, where Tyree Hall's traffic stop is on video and the light source is above his head. This is what is speaking to the demon possession that CAL FIRE employees, and it's relevant because this is a state actor. CAL FIRE is being prosecuted with regard to the criminal conduct and remember, each county, San Luis Obispo County, Merced County, Camarillo, these are details regarding the different counties that CAL FIRE, the agency itself, is engaged in domestic terrorism. And they are hiring sex offenders. CAL FIRE itself is a sex offender, and they're hiring sex offenders that engage in and employ the demonic, which is, again, the desk chair that I'm sitting in between the beds on the floor is vibrating while I'm sitting on that desk chair. And this sex offender, who you can see a close-up image of his face inside of room 309, he's bending down, picking up his red backpack for purposes of relevant positioning, stalking in the path, and idiots do it in plain sight while the fake sun remains over the hotel building. And this is what you'll see, group stalking, and he's picking up that's the image that I'm using, and I'm zooming in on his face for purposes of identification and for prosecution, but also because you need to learn that there is no race with regard to the demon possessed. There is no particular age with regard to the demon possessed. There is no exception where there's some sort of position or status that they hold, and it's some exception to the demon possessed. This is a violent sex offender based on that condition, which is also readily identified, not only by the demonic pattern of conduct, which I'm pointing out with regard to the timestamps. While this demon and all the rest of the demons that are pacing in and out of that room are outwardly laughing and joking around, and they are repeatedly using the door, the hotel door, to close repeatedly with regard to my physical movement and operation of my communication device. In addition, while they're stalking and via being in room 309, there's an ongoing incessant earthquake creation on the floor where I'm sitting in the chair, vibration heard through the walls, ongoing hammering, much of which I described in the video where you saw the fake sun at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and it remains outside of my window right now at 6:37 p.m., which I've also already documented much later than that as well. As late as, I believe, 6:58 p.m. So the entity is engaging what is pacing in and out. And again, the surveillance camera footage is relevant to the bigger picture regarding everything that I'm stating is the case. The entity is not silently group stalking you. The demons are not engaging in what is silent methods of group stalking. They are obviously engaging in the pattern of conduct which is relevant to harassment and terrorism. They do so to a precise pattern. It is always the exact same formula. They engage in what is doing it outside of, and it's not really outside, but with regard to, for example, while I'm documenting right now, my voice is the audible activity. So this demon's walking in and out of their hotel room on surveillance cameras, and the pattern of conduct is being satisfied. You are engaging in group stalking at any and all moments when the environment is present. In addition to that, the entity engages in activity and light creation with simultaneity to your immediate movement or change in movement or use of your communication device pursuant to that very precise pattern. While demons are engaging in that pattern of conduct that they're monitoring regarding your documentation, they will, like they are now, walking in and out of their rooms, which is the same exact audible activity creation and not outside of the pattern that they're listening to me identify. That's why this state actor who's representing Camarillo County with the sex offender, the domestic terrorist CAL FIRE, who, again, the demon and the corrupt actor who's dangerous and corrupt leadership needs to be that which is remedied. Speaking to Joe Tyler, that's what I'm referencing, and that's who they're representing with regard to this demon that's over this CAL FIRE state agency that's engaging in a pattern of conduct. Strangers, okay, and air quotes, that I've never met, but yet the identical behavior is underway in the specific environment, which is a pattern in and of itself. That pattern is a scientific impossibility. That's recognizing the demonic. And I want to make sure that I continuously underscore how every single last employee is indeed going to federal prison while the state acts with impunity. This impunity is attributed to the whole state of California. It is, in other words, attributed to speaker companies who was engaging in this pattern of conduct for the entire year that I was employed in Los Angeles, where the entity kept the fake sun rising and setting at Alvarado Gardens at 1800 North Alvarado Street, 91206. Okay, 92006, excuse me. And so the entity is now keeping it in Hesperia, where demons that are wearing CAL FIRE uniforms are engaging in psychotic and sexually violent criminal activity that is terrorizing on its face and in substance. The fact that males are stalking you, that you do not know, and they are also doing so pursuant to knowledge of what you're doing inside of a private space, is an exceedingly violent sex offense that is both psychologically harmful, and it is also that which is sexually violent regarding what it is that you're doing at every other personal and private moment, which demons stalking you with noise are inherently aware of. This is how they're able to abide by a uniform and demonic pattern where the engineered light is present both day and night, by the way. And so again, you're going to reference, I'm just using this demon as an example because this is the entity that is engaging in what is, this is the screenshots that I captured at 6:04 p.m. And you will see the demons, they're rapidly walking away from the door as I open mine to capture what it is that I'm continuously documenting. And it's not just the demons in room 309. Those are the ones that were at that moment in time using their doors repeatedly. So I went right up and I captured image, opened up my door and just captured images of what is the use of a door. And the entity is using this, the moment that the door is closed is the moment that it is accomplishing audible activity. So this is a demon that is able to engage in the uncanny ability, the timing that the door closes, that's speaking to the demonic. Okay. And that's what these demons are doing. And it's relevant and it's also legally significant. And it's also attributed to all of the entity that's making money while it's group stalking with CAL FIRE and Holiday Inn Express, who represents the state and the people of the state, while they're across the street, all around in relevant position, while the fake sun remains in alignment to me inside of this hotel. A perpetual sex offense is underway while Target and the High Desert Gateway Shopping Center is making money while engaged in criminal activity. You are engaged in surveillance and federal stalking in relevant position in any way, fashion, or form, while the light source is remaining and the elements of monitoring are being satisfied, which they are also engaging in relevant position. They're moving all around across the street while the engineer light is covering all of the property and the fake sun is remaining directly over me, which I've already documented, and I documented it again today. Remember, 7 o'clock in the morning until what is 6:42 p.m. in the evening is not the natural environment, nor is it natural behavior to not only continue to engage in terrorizing and sexually violating a woman in a hotel room whom you're group stalking, referencing CAL FIRE, specifically the demon affiliated with CAL FIRE in room 309, as I documented in screenshots where you will see these sex offenders' faces at 6:04 p.m. But it is also the pattern of conduct, and it is also highly perverted and disturbing and terrorism with regard to prosecution to engage in the elements of monitoring with simultaneity to what the target individual is doing physically and on a communication device. The entity does so with regard to my uploading the screen recording, capturing the light source that is over my window and juxtaposing it with the light source that's over Tariq Hill and the Miami-Dade Police Department on September 8, 2024. And so again, and I'm just interpreting, this is relevant for educational purposes, for informational purposes, the mind state, which is revealing mental illness. You are mentally ill and you are sick and depraved in the mind. You're a threat to children. You're a threat also to yourself and to the public. And they are calling themselves a fire department. So understand that. And they are doing so while they're engaging in criminal activity. That's called public corruption, while they do so with the people of the state. They are freely and openly engaging in it on this side of a federal prosecution, closing a hotel door on camera at 6:43 p.m. right now while I'm inside of my hotel room using my hands and gesturing while I'm speaking. That simultaneity of conduct is pursuant to the P.O.C. The entity is doing that while my legs are open, genitalia is exposed, my body is nude, a whole bunch of dudes that I don't know, aware of the fact that I'm washing my body in the shower, what part of my body is being washed, while they are pacing all around like the cockroaches you see as I'm stepping out of my room, and you're looking at demonic pacing. That's exactly what they're doing with knowledge of the same when I'm in a private space and engaging in private activity. And that's what CAL FIRE and the demon in 309, whose face you can see up close and personal, while they're engaging in that terrorism openly at this moment when I'm moving my hand, they're engaging in that demonic activity, which is sexually violent when I'm physically nude. And what you need to recognize and what federal law will appreciate is that there's no difference with regard to the perpetual perpetual sex offense that's occurring in the private space. There's no division or distinction with regard to that sexual violence. And it's occurring while Chase Bank, Baker's, 76, Motel 6, Holiday Inn included, the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, a whole bunch of females and males who are engaged in corporate invasion of privacy, state surveillance, and federal stalking with these demons who are pacing all around in and out of their hotel rooms pursuant to the demonic behavior pattern. This is a massive sex offense, a massive invasion of privacy by the state. And the state is acting, and it is on account of the demons that are sitting, working at the venue, vacuuming 7 times a day to maintain audible activity. That's what the demons that are in the housekeeping department engage in, while they're engaging in corporate invasion of privacy with the state. So they're engaging in criminal conduct on each other's behalf as one entity. And they do so, again, revealing a mental illness, the fact that an exceedingly violent sex offender is monitoring a woman. That's specifically noted with regard to the prosecution. This demon is going back to Camarillo, and this federal prosecution is going to pluck him right back. He's not going anywhere, and neither are the rest of them. I want to make sure that I specifically document this because it is occurring on Joe Tyler's watch. You need to understand that Joe Tyler is of the same condition. You do not have this demonic system, which is a massive revelation regarding public corruption, which is a pattern of conduct, even as I go outside of the state to Nevada, and you don't have these government leaders over these corrupt departments ignorantly in these positions while there are just a whole bunch of demons under them engaging in this criminal system ignorantly. In other words, Joe Tyler is a demon, and he's a closeted sex offender and a psychopath, and I keep repeating that because the demons of wearing CAL FIRE t-shirts are literally hollering it out to the rest of the world as I'm documenting the state of California as it's acting via CAL FIRE and the demon-possessed population who are the people of the state, who happen to be, as I documented today, under a fake sun that remains at one address not only for the duration of the day, 12 plus hours, but also under a light source that could not possibly be the sun while it's over Tariq Hall and the Miami-Dade police in Miami, Florida, which is documented. It's on the news. You can look at it yourself while I am showing you the light source that's remaining stationary over my hotel room while demons who are obsessively group stalking me, dudes that I don't have any interest in, dudes that I would never allow to touch my genitalia, look at my genitalia, have any notion about what's going on with my genitalia, but yet they're group stalking me, which is an inherently violent sex offense, while they're consumed with what it is that I'm uploading about them, while you have no business engaging in surveillance in the first place. And that's the state of California that's going to be prosecuted for that. Okay, so the entity is doing so while, again, the earthquakes that's occurring while I'm sitting in the desk chair, CAL FIRE is engaged in that, and this is the state of California while I'm just naming a name, identifying the state in the same way that are the people of the state. And that is every fire department, that is every sheriff's department, every police department in the state of California, while a fake sun's remaining over Hesperia in California, this hotel. There is no sun that's going to be over Uber's corporate office in San Francisco, California. There's only one sun and not 14. In the same way that there's no sun, no natural environment that's over the Miami-Dade police pulling over Tyreek Hill at 10:20 in the morning, like was documented on September 8th and published through the body cam. All right. So this is providing context regarding the terrorism and the sexual violence that this demon in room 309 and all the rest of the sex offenders engaged in demonic pacing while they're holding things in their hands, laughing, having a good old time. They're monitoring a woman and they're engaging in a sex offense openly, and it will be prosecuted accordingly. I just want to make sure that I document that while I'm subject to that terrorism. And you're looking at the same thing over and over again. This is exactly what I documented last night while the entity's sounding sirens, and you saw that demon pacing in the hallway. This looked like either a dark-skinned Latino male or an African-American male. Demons don't have a race. This is for purposes of documentation and identification. And he's in the hallway with a black hoodie on, walking up and down. He's crossing path while earthquake-like sensational activity, in other words, is occurring inside of my room while the entity is sounding sirens, using their lights and sirens. That's the state acting directly. In the same way that CAL FIRE is the state acting directly, while audible activity, light activity is being provided, complements of the state, demonstrating demon possession in the specific environment. That's context regarding the activity creation that's going on with simultaneity to what I am documenting. And as I document it, the demons engage in more of it. That's pursuant to knowledge of what you're doing in the specific environment as opposed to any coincidences. There are none where the sun is rising and setting. The entity is doing so, and it is exposing what the entire state of California is doing. And you are talking about what is a substantial basis, again, when I'm in another county, Hesperia, San Bernardino County, and the state is engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring. This is what the entity was doing in LA County, in San Diego County. This is what the entity was doing in Orange County. This is what the entity was doing in Las Vegas, Nevada. All right, it is currently, by the way, 6:49 p.m. This sexual violence, this harassment as an entity, and this terrorism as an entity is that which is ceaseless. What I have documented with regard to the timestamp, 6:04 p.m., hotel door closure is the means of stalking with audible activity. A hotel door closure is coexisting with a vibration. This is sensational activity as I'm providing timestamps. The entity is engaged in ceaseless P.O.C. though. So do not be mistaken or confused thinking that that is the limitation of the terrorism that the entity is engaging in. It's psychologically torturing and terrorizing that the whole state is keeping you under surveillance. That's the psychological aspect regarding what CAL FIRE is here directly engaging in. And these sex offenders will be removed from the firefighting. They will never have anything to do with being a firefighter or law enforcement. That goes without being said. That goes without saying, by the way. But you're talking about what is being prosecuted as a domestic terrorist, and group stalking is an exceedingly violent sex offense. So you're not going to have just free and open access to children. You can't just move anywhere. You will certainly have nothing to do with whatever industry regarding whatever arm of the state you're in. For example, group stalking police, group stalking sheriffs, group stalking firefighters. They're done with that industry for life, and there's no jurisdiction in the U.S. where they can go and practice it again. And by the way, the impunity and the malice that the entity is exhibiting is speaking to why that is justice and why it's necessary. With regard to the people of the state and the state, you're talking about you're not a natural born citizen. You're going to be removed from this country. And again, we will happily remove you. This sort of terrorism is not welcome or needed. The economy, the immigration problems in this country will be resolved in many ways with regard to the prosecution for federal group stalking and monitoring. There are built-in resolutions regarding what these corrupt leaders are stating are the problem regarding our economy, regarding our immigration system, regarding jobs and whatnot. Many of them are group stalkers. They're engaged in state surveillance, especially in California. I'll keep it there with regard to my analysis, my vantage point, because the population is engaged in criminal activity. And there will be a lot of free weight that can provide a lot of resolutions with regard to the prosecution for the state's criminal system. All right. And you're talking about a restructuring, having a criminal record for engaging in terrorism. You won't even be able to get in as a firefighter. I mean, you're talking about being in a position of leadership while this is occurring on your watch. You will be removed. And you're talking about what is no exception for being prosecuted for this criminal conduct that is occurring on your watch, which you can be held accountable for. While people are being conspired against for murder and kidnapping, because that's why you're group stalking and your agency is engaging in it, be prepared to be prosecuted. It is not outside of any sort of constitutional, you don't have any constitutional protections to conspire against American citizens while you're group stalking. And that's also already proven. So you're talking about how you're going to punish that. And that is speaking to those in leadership positions. And you are up to and including a prosecution going to be held accountable for it. And so this is what Joe Tyler is being simultaneously exposed for, while his little worker demons coming from all the different counties are bearing CAL FIRE logos, group stalking in the shoes of the state, with the rest of the demons who are engaging the elements of monitoring with them, continuously pointing fingers at the state and the people of the state, all of whom will also compensate the target individual who's group stalking with them. Okay, so it is currently again 6:52 p.m. and I'm going ahead and capture the fake sun while the entity is sounding, beeping in the parking lot. That's a group stalker. It's audible activity. And that's also documented as what is impunity. And that is, again, the license plate that I already captured, 14493U3. That is RMC Trucking Incorporated, California 2435. 2433589. That commercial actor is group stalking. And I'm going to show you the fake sun that's still in alignment with my person just yonder behind the trees. That's non-movement of a fake sun where CAL FIRE is engaged in terrorism. It is currently, again, 6:53 p.m. where I'm documenting sexual violence by a government. And this is the ways in which the entity does so. And exceedingly violent sex offenders are currently walking around in California, having access to children, their children, working around children. They have access to the public while they engage in sexual violence, keeping people under surveillance unbeknownst to them, having information about what's going on in their personal lives, private lives, while they're engaging in this criminal system. It's inherently predatory and sexually perverted. Okay, that's an aspect of the pattern of conduct which is satanic at its core. And they are currently walking around without a label that they need to have. And that's also the purpose of federal group stalking and monitoring the prosecution of the state. It is currently, again, 6:54 p.m. This is P.O.C.